Party people, this is the Master of Games, Master Mario from the Cosplay Wrestling Federation. Word is Jeremy, Steve, and Jesse from the Rolling 20s will be all over Great American Comic-Con hosting panels with John Romita Jr., Joe Rubenstein, Bob Layton, and a whole lot of other special guests. Come see a great show December 3rd and 4th at the Cashman Center in Las Vegas. Great American Comic-Con. Where are you gonna be?
The Killing Joke. The joke is on us in this wannabe edgy misfire that looks like a fan-made Flash animation and sounds like some of the actors read their lines at gunpoint.
Hello. I want to talk.
I'm sorry, but no. In a movie that brings DC cinematic-level storytelling to the DC animated universe, plus a dash of Lego Batman for good measure.
You haven't been taken to the edge yet.
Darkness!
The abyss. The place where you don't care anymore. Where all hope dies.
No parents!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the show that says we are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams. I am Jeremy.
And Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library, missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on Tumblr. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machina Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinasupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard was Honest Trailers, The Killing Joke. The Emmy Award-nominated series has done its own take on the latest Batman animated film. You can find more of their videos on youtube.com under their channel of Screen Junkies. And as you heard, it wasn't really a joke at the beginning of the show. It's just the best acknowledgement we've got at the moment as to the passing of another screen legend. 2016 has been really rough when it comes to nice, famous people.
Yeah. Is the Grim Reaper trying to set a record for taking away the good actors? Or
I think he's trying to piss me off because he's killed so many interesting people this year without taking a single Kardashian, West, or Trump off the damn planet. You know, it has not been fair to lose actual living legends like Bowie and Prince and Lemmy Kilmister and Gene Wilder, and all this crap is still left running around thinking it is hot shit. It's not fair. It's just not fair. You know, I mean, I was looking at the monitors in the gym, and one of the big stories was that Donald Trump tried to rehabilitate his image by holding a miniature press appearance at a black church. And I was thinking, if there truly is a God, strike this man dead right now. Just a bolt of lightning right in the middle of the church with the ultimate statement, right now. You know, and there was this white guy that was behind me. He was staring at the same picture. He was laughing. And he just said, why would he do that? And I turned around, looked at him, and said, think about it, dude. If you're talking to a bunch of people that hate you, even if they don't like you, they're very unlikely to start yelling expletives in the middle of a church, right?
Yeah.
And he just said, oh, that's brilliant. So, there you go. How are you guys doing?
I am somewhat psyching myself up for next weekend where I get to spend 14 hours on buses and or trains.
Do you have like a layover in Los Angeles? Because if you're looking for a little company, I could probably hang out for a couple hours.
It would be at LAX, and I think it might be an hour.
LAX? Don't you mean Union Station?
No, it specifically says LAX. That's where the bus drops me off, then I jump on the Pacific Coastliner from there.
Plane or train?
I don't know. It's...
I was about to say, because I don't know of a straight shot train from LAX. Usually if I'm headed to San Diego, I got to go to Union Station.
That's what I figured too, but that's what the... Oh, hang on. I'll just open my email real quick.
That is flippin' bizarre. While he's doing that, how are you, Jesse?
I've had another boring week.
Okay. Good talk. I might actually step out for a little bit tomorrow. Sunday is usually the day I edit these shows, but I got an email from AMC because of Gene Wilder's passing. They're having a special all during Saturday and Sunday. If you can find an AMC in your area, they are playing at 5:00 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1971, Gene Wilder's movie, and then at 8:00 they're playing Blazing Saddles, another Gene Wilder movie.
Oh, nice!
And the admission to both of those movies, $5 each.
Nice.
It's not a pair of movies I need to see again necessarily, but in a movie theater for $5, tempting.
Yeah.
Superbly tempting. The subject of this week is Wonder Woman. The DC Rebirth comic came out just this year, issues 1 through 3. We usually have more issues, but it was a little difficult for me to find all the issues in this particular arc, so I decided to just cut it short. We'll get to that after we get through the news of the week. James Gunn is back on social media.
What's he doing now?
He's actually a little bit upset.
Oh.
Who pissed him off?
A lot of people. The problem is that every time he goes on social media, he gets a repeated question. And instead of just saying what the question is, I'm going to read the Facebook post he put out just this past Thursday, September 1st at 1:33 p.m. Grab your butts and listen to this. Quote, I appreciate and am grateful to so many of you that want to see the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 trailer. I am fortunate that so many folks are interested in our film. However, the schedule for the trailers has been decided upon, and no matter how many times you request on social media that they come out faster, which has lately been happening dozens of times a day, what's done is done. And yes, usually this is just people being enthusiastic and begging for the trailer, or telling me how they're going to die if they don't get it, or simply asking when it's going to come out even though I can't answer. That's all fun and fair. Again, I appreciate the interest. But when I post a photo of a much-needed getaway to Palm Springs and someone comments, why aren't you working on the goddamn Guardians trailer? Or I post a tribute to the passing of Gene Wilder and someone comments, where the fuck is the trailer, asshole? Well, it gets a little uncool. I don't know why I'm saying this. If you have the attention span to read all of this, you're probably not the jerk cursing at me about a trailer on social media. But I guess it makes me feel a little better. Hope you all have an amazing day, unquote.
Mm-hmm. Wow, people need to chill.
I know,
seriously.
The movie is, what, I believe 7-8 months? No, actually I think it's about 10 months away, isn't it?
Yeah.
I believe this is the big summer release they have for next year. Because if memory serves, Spider-Man comes out in 2017. I think it has the May spot. So, you know, I want to share all the footage that I saw during that Comic-Con panel, but it hasn't come out yet because, as they've made very clear, that footage is unfinished. We saw a bunch of stuff stitched together that wasn't ready for the masses yet. So, what can you do except shut up and let the man work, or shut up and let the man relax? He's doing a lot of crap for everybody else right now.
Yeah.
So it all leads to the same thing. Have some patience because the schedule is there, the movie is coming out, the trailer will come, get off the man's ass. And if to put a proper button on this, on the same post about half an hour later, James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, posted underneath in a reply, and he said, quote, in all seriousness though, when do I get to see the trailer, unquote.
A brother could get away with that crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. He ain't heavy, he my brother. In regards to the Captain Marvel film, a fourth contender for the director role on the film has been named. Last week we found out that Nikki Caro, Lorraine Scafaria, and Leslie Linka Glatter were all up for it. And just this past week, an additional name of Rebecca Thomas has been added. Rebecca Thomas, I don't know what else she's done. However, it was recently announced that she's going to be working on the Universal Pictures live-action The Little Mermaid film. And apparently she's been in contention for this for months, according to a source that Newsarama knows. You know, I haven't heard of any of these people, but I'm going to chill the hell out because, as we've discussed, Marvel tends to pick up, or Disney, I should say, tends to pick up a lot of unknowns for their projects that you just kind of scoff at and say, well, who are they? And then they turn into incredible frickin' films. So I'm just going to shut up and let them do what they do. I'm not going to have any predictions. A new clip has been released to add a little bit of information about the villains in the Doctor Strange film. It's
Villains,
a YouTube
plural?
Apparently, because when I say... We know that Mads Mikkelsen is playing a character with... I can never pronounce his name. Caecilius, I believe it is. And he has a group with him called the Zealots. You want to see the video where he explains it just a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. The clip is only about a minute long. I sent the video.
The Doctor Strange story is a great cast of characters. Chief among them is Carl.
Oh, right. I forgot Baron Mordo's in
Is
this.
the intro to Doctor Strange entering this universe. Mordo is very close with the Ancient One.
Seems to be helping now, but you know Baron Mordo's going to betray at some point.
Real, proper inner magic.
Together, both the Ancient One and Mordo, they sort of begin his training.
There are other ways
Astral
to
punch.
save lives. So much you don't know.
That blew me away in the first trailer.
Punch and sword knocked the life out of him.
We're excited about villains.
There's
in
Mads.
this film. We call them the Zealots. These are people who become seduced by what they find on the other side.
Caecilius is part of this temple. If the majority is looking for the truth here, he's looking over there for the truth.
He is
Caecilius.
interested in
Okay, I think I did that all
barriers
right.
between these dimensions.
So he's trying to fold dimensions. Now, did you notice that when the director was talking about that, he said Caecilius was seduced by what they found on the other side?
Right.
The other side of what? Because, Snap Judgment says, well, Dormammu is usually the biggest deal on the other side of a dimensional wall when it comes to Strange. That or Mephisto. And I seriously think they're going to go full-on Satan for this movie. However, long-standing Doctor Strange readers have noted that the Zealots are very similar to an old, and I say old, Doctor Strange enemy called the Cult of Death. And they think the way that all this may tie together when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that the Cult of Death had a line to the Marvel's version of the Avatar of Death, the woman with the skull.
Oh.
And who is always trying to make love to death in the Marvel comics?
Yep. Thanos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So some people are thinking this all connects a little more deeply than first impressions would give you. And I will not say that's true, but I will bow to them on that simply because I am not a standardized Doctor Strange reader. We've read the more current volumes, but as far as his long history, big blank spot to me.
Yeah.
Now, there have been a couple surprises recently announced when it comes to Spider-Man Homecoming. The movie comes out July 7th, 2017. It's already less than a year. And they're still filming it right now. God, you would think the after effects on that film are going to be crazy. But there have been two recent surprises, one of which is relatively old, and not that surprising when it was announced that Robert Downey Jr. will make a cameo as the Black Widow.
That is a little surprising.
Just a bit.
Again, sometimes I just want to make sure you guys are paying attention. He will appear as Tony Stark. The real surprise, though, came that a former Marvel director is going to appear in this movie in a cameo himself. And that is Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau directed the first two Iron Man films, as you recall.
Yeah, and he was Happy Hogan in...
Yes. He's actually reprising his role as one of Tony Stark's chiefs of security, Happy Hogan, in the movie.
Okay, that's going to be fun.
That's actually really cool.
Well, I mean, it's nice that they got him back. I'm almost surprised Warner Brothers has not tried to lure Favreau away now that he's not currently directing to try and help their own superhero franchises. This is the guy who built what Marvel started. Literally. He directed the very first movie.
He set the foundation, so yeah.
At this point, I would... If I ran Warner Brothers, I'd probably pay him double what he worked at Marvel just so he and Zack Snyder could have a wrestling contest to see who's going to run this crap.
Watch Favreau come in with a flamethrower. Say, let me see your script.
Couldn't you see Favreau walking out in his all-black bodysuit, and the first thing he does is just start whipping batarangs? That's an image. And in really great news, I told you guys when I was at Comic-Con, during Hall H, they decided to air this clip that was affiliated with Marvel, but it really had nothing to do with anything, because it was a clip of what supposedly Thor was up to during Civil War. He was in New Zealand sharing an apartment with this regular person, and he was an absolute dick. I assume that clip is probably, if it's not attached to the Civil War Blu-ray, I imagine it's probably going to be attached to an upcoming Blu-ray release very soon. But in better news, with the exception of the pre-production footage that they've showed of Thor Ragnarok, they've released the entirety of that 3.5-minute clip online.
Yeah, watch it. Show us. Oh, show me then.
It is one of those things, as many times as you can describe it, it pales to the actual video, which I have now sent. Crappy VCR, Civil War Team Thor.
I guess I'm just taking a break. We had this really cool adventure.
Notice that cheeseball robe he's got?
I was really happy. Anyway, so I needed some me time, and I came to Australia, and that's when I moved in with Daryl.
And
here we are. You know, it's a nice flat, as you can see, and we get along well. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to be around.
He's just got Mjolnir in his lap.
Average, everyday people. And Daryl is
this is mean.
Sort of everyday guy.
Mjolnir in the middle of the floor as he vacuums. That's terrible.
So who's this purple weirdo? Surprised you actually knew who that was. Electronic letter. I'm writing to Captain America and Iron Man. There seems to be something very intense going on between them, and I want to offer
something intense.
Dear Tony Stark, how's it going? I heard you and Captain America were having some relationship problems. Dear Steve Rogers, do you remember when I goaded you into killing those prisoners, and you made me swear to never tell the other Avengers? If there's any other secrets you need kept, just let me know. I'm not up to much. What are you doing later?
I was working. He's working.
Keep out Daryl.
3/4 of that thing says Daryl.
Mjolnir over here taking a nap. Something I've been roasting in the sun for a number of weeks now. It's almost ready.
Rancid.
Delicious.
Whoa.
Question: what are Infinity Stones? A whole lot of information.
Look at this grade school thread map.
Speckled around the place. Who is the man in the purple chair?
The man in the purple chair.
His magic glove. Doesn't like standing up. Fury. His real name is actually pronounced Furry. Little Mjolnir
Furry.
Here. Sunglasses in case it gets bright on the Rainbow Bridge, which often it does. If you lift up this little thing, what's he holding?
I never wear cutoffs. How do I keep wearing
Mark Ruffalo.
Normal pants going. Cutoffs coming out.
You?
Oh, by the way, I heard from Tony Stark and Captain America.
They didn't contact you?
I really hope they did this on a set, because if these two were just sitting in some random corner filming, oh my god, man, the crowd.
Hey, T-Bone, how many times do we have to go over this? No amount of money is going to get me to join your little pissing contest. But here, talk to Thor. He's sort of been waiting to hear from you. I have him right here. Oh, you can't right now? Okay.
Am I disappointed?
Oh, you can't?
They didn't invite me to fight with them. No.
He doesn't know how to get in touch with you.
I don't have a phone.
He doesn't have a phone.
Send a raven. Team Thor, of course. And it would be me and Daryl. Just us, right, D?
Yep.
So sad.
Oh, wow. A little bit of an Office-style parody there. And that wasn't the only video that Marvel released this week, although this came from the Netflix arm. Jeff Loeb and Netflix were nice enough to release an extended clip of one of the first scenes from the new Luke Cage series, opening in just 4 damn weeks on September 30th. And, of course, you're not going to release a clip like this as nothing but chatter. You're going to release a clip that shows Mike Coulter kicking a little bit of butt as Luke Cage. You know what I mean? So, I went ahead and sent the video. Love the music.
Whoa, that's a little odd.
I'm guessing that's you.
You know this is bad.
Oh,
the flip. And he carries him.
All right, Mr. Bus.
Yeah, Locker's hurt.
I guess you guys haven't heard about me.
Nope.
Have you?
Ricochets. That's bad.
I'm about sick of always having to buy new clothes.
It opens up fully September 30th, man, and I am looking forward to that show.
Of all the things he's doing, he's just tired of buying new clothes. Wow.
Yep. Now, there is a report and rumor. It's been unsubstantiated right now. But if they pull it off, this could be Marvel's most successful TV show they've done as of yet. Because a live-action New Warriors half-hour television show is being bandied about ABC right now. No guarantee that it'll air on the network. It could be produced by ABC and then shopped around to different networks. The thing is, though, there is a special difference to this particular version of the New Warriors compared to any of the previous comics. Would you like to know what it is?
What?
There is a strong possibility that they will have to squirrel-proof their headquarters. The TV show that's being shopped around is titled Squirrel Girl and the New Warriors. I kid you not. Reportedly, ABC doesn't want to air it themselves. They've been shopping around to unnamed cable and streaming outlets. If they do a show like this, man, I don't know if I'd want a half an hour. I think I'd want a full hour.
Yeah.
Better question, though. Which version of the New Warriors are we talking about?
I would assume not the originals.
Oh, half of the originals are out of date, man. Night Thrasher, no matter how many times they remake it, there's only so many ways you can make a guy on a skateboard badass.
Yeah.
That's what Night Thrasher was. Night Thrasher was a black person in the epitome of a number of 90s stereotypes. A number of them. Speedball you could do. Nova would be a little more dicey, because I think more of the current generation knows Sam Alexander than Richard Rider. I don't know if you could do Namora. I think those rights might be... Well, it's a TV show, so you might be able to get away with it.
No, I think it's Namorita.
Namorita, yeah, but Namorita's rights would technically be tied up with the Namor rights with Universal.
Yeah.
And those were the main New Warriors back in the day.
Yep.
So, I have a feeling there's...
Street Thrasher's sister.
Night Thrasher. Well, she came later. Silhouette came later. I have a feeling I'm missing one in that count, but I can't remember who exactly that is. There was a lot of New Warriors that came later. Justice, right. He was Marvel Boy back then.
Yeah.
That's the one. Thank you. So if they make it work, I would eagerly set a DVR, man. Last up in Marvel media news, we've talked about Stephen Lang and his want to play Cable. Lang recently spoke to Mashable when he's promoting his new horror movie, Don't Breathe, where he plays a blind man that is terrorizing some teenagers at Camp Kill-A-Teen or wherever the hell they are. And Lang himself seemed like he's talked at several points on social media about trying to play Cable. As of right now, he has not met with 20th Century Fox about the role. And he told Mashable, quote, "Oh, sure, I was a fan of the first Deadpool, and I'd be delighted to be part of that sequel. But I haven't spoken to anyone about it. It kept cropping up on the internet that I should play Cable. The extent of what I did was, one day I was at the gym and I tweeted, 'Let's lay some Cable.' And that became construed as my campaign for the part. Even now, if someone does fan art, I'll retweet it because I like keeping it alive. It's the same studio as Avatar, but I don't know if that makes it easier or more difficult logistically. Either way, no one has approached me, and I can't even say if I'm in the actual conversation. But they must be aware of it, because whoever makes those decisions must be aware of everything. Plus, I think I do a pretty bang-up job with the part. Having said that, understand that my obligation is to the largest, most successful film ever made, so Avatar takes precedence," unquote.
Fair enough.
There isn't much else you can say. Would you like to see one of the fan arts that he's alluding to?
Sure.
check this out. Somebody put this together, some unknown third party, of what Stephen Lang would look like as Cable, and he does not look bad. He's a little better Photoshop with a glowing eye. You can kind of see where somebody laid in those pixels, but other than that, it's pretty impressive.
Mm.
They probably made that out of his Avatar appearance, frankly. He's got the... Well, I don't know.
I think he's wearing his Avatar uniform, you know.
Yeah. I think he'd make a pretty good Cable, actually.
Yeah, me too.
I was sold when he posted that pic, although I didn't realize that it was just let's lay some Cable, not, hey, I could be Cable.
Well, hopefully that's just his desire to play the part instead of offering gay porn or something. Because, it's a new century. Either one could be likely. From here, we're going into DC media news. We'll talk about the DC properties that are not headed for the comic book pages. And oddly enough, it's been revealed recently that one Lois Lane is not a fan of another. Did you guys hear that Margot Kidder, the Superman from the 1978 film with Christopher Reeves?
Yeah, Lois Lane, yeah.
Yeah, she was speaking recently with Hey You Guys. It's an online publication. And she took some time to talk about the current Lois Lane, Amy Adams. And she had some interesting words when it came to the modern portrayal of Lois Lane. Quote, "They took one of the best American actresses around, Amy Adams, and they didn't give her anything to do. I mean, how stupid is that? They made her what used to be the girlfriend, which kind of ended in the 60s with women's rights," unquote. And, it's easy to categorize that statement as sour grapes, except when she said that, I thought about what I could remember of the Superman movies that have existed so far in the current DC cinematic universe, and she's right. Lois Lane really hasn't been much of a help in these movies. If anything, she's been the person that Superman repeatedly flies in to grab out of these films.
No. She stopped Batman and told him that, Martha is his mother. That was a supremely important role. We know that.
It almost felt like Superman realizing that her panties were pink. Amy Adams is an incredible actress, but she's really given crap to do in those films. I'm not saying that they should write an extra role where suddenly Lois Lane shows up with a special Batman-seeking rifle or anything weird like that. It just seems like there could be something a little more productive for such a firebrand of a character to do. However, apparently it's been revealed who the villain is going to be in Ben Affleck's solo Batman movie, the one where he's assisting with the writing and he's directing it.
Mm-hmm.
According to the Wrap, Deathstroke will be the primary villain.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some of this.
There was footage that recently came out from Ben Affleck's Twitter account that was supposedly behind-the-scenes footage that involved Deathstroke coming out of the smoke. It's not 100% confirmed because it's not like there's any official press releases. This is just video that's come out. Maybe Deathstroke is a side villain. However, if you're going to have Deathstroke in a movie, you would think that he's going to be the primary problem. He's one of DC's ultimate mercenaries. Hell, this is the character that Deadpool was based on when he first came out. And we've read Deathstroke's comic book. The character is fearsome, even though his most recent comic was really not all that. However, I understand that the current one, written by Christopher Priest, is actually pretty good. I'm reserving judgment until I actually read it.
Yeah.
The first promo poster has been released for Supergirl as a CW property. You know how the CBS ones were always sunny, bright, always seemed to have an undercurrent of hope?
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at this one, if I had to describe it, I would say valiant would probably be the right word for the theme they're going with. It's not the same summery yellows. There's a lot more blues, and she seems like a more steadfast character in this portrayal. Same costume, same actress. They chose something very dynamic, and I actually like the Photoshop cape there. That was a nice idea.
I hadn't noticed the red pinstriping on her suit before.
I did not either. I don't know if that's an aesthetic choice, if that's a Photoshop choice, or if maybe in the move to the CW they decided to texture her outfit a little bit more.
Hmm.
Any opinions?
It's not bad.
I hope they add a little more edge to the series. It was very airy and a little bit too much Love Will Save Us All for my tastes, anyway.
I still have yet to watch a single episode.
I watched the crossover with The Flash, and
I would say if you're bored for a couple hours, check it out, and I don't think there's a point where I can say, don't start here. It all feels very similar throughout the season. Just try it out at some point. If you like it, start over. If you don't, at least you can say you tried. The lead producer of the CW DC shows, Greg Berlanti, is apparently shopping around an additional project. The CW has said they don't want any more, but it could be that that Warner Brothers is looking to branch out similarly to how Marvel did, now that it's across several different broadcasting platforms. The word is, Greg Berlanti is trying to shop out a Black Lightning TV show.
Really?
Yes. Black Lightning's been a long-standing character in DC Comics since, I want to say, the 70s, about Jefferson Pierce, who is, of course, Black Lightning. There is no better description, and no, it's not that he's throwing black energy, he's a black man that throws lightning. However, it appears that the theme they're going with this show is that the character of Jefferson Pierce will be retired, who's pulled back into his costume after his daughter is recruited into a local gang.
Interesting.
The question is, which of his daughters? In the comic books, he had 2 different daughters, both of which ended up with different superpowers. One very similar to his, named Lightning, and another one who was in the, I want to say the 2004 run of The Outsiders, called Thunder. She was invulnerable and super strength. Apparently, according to Deadline, Warner Brothers has been working on this series for well over a year with different incarnations before the studio found something it liked. I wonder what that means.
I don't know if they don't want any more, and that is kind of confusing.
Well, the CW doesn't want any more. That doesn't mean Warner Brothers won't sell it out like they did Supergirl to CBS originally.
Ah, right, true.
A casting has been done for the sci-fi prequel for Superman, Krypton. This is being done by David S. Goyer. If you recall, Goyer is the same guy who said that the She-Hulk functions as no other purpose than to be a sex object for the Hulk. They have cast Georgina Campbell, a British actress, to play the role of Leda Zod. So she would be one of the ancestors of General Zod. Or, I'm sorry, she'll be the daughter of General Zod. According to Deadline, quote, based on the DC Comics characters created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, Krypton is set 2 generations before the destruction of the legendary Man of Steel's home planet. It follows Superman's grandfather, Sega El, whose House of El was ostracized and shamed, as he fights to redeem his family's honor and save his beloved from world chaos. Campbell's Leda Zod is a member of Krypton's military caste and the daughter of a general. That would be Superman's future nemesis, General Zod. Leda Zod serves as a cadet and also been having a clandestine forbidden romance with Seg El. Unquote. Ew. I'm going to assume that Seg El is not, like, of grandfatherly age at this series, that he's more, he's more, I would say 20, 30 something. Still, ew. It's this picture that I'm putting together in my head is not healthy. Apparently, the pilot for Krypton is going to be shot soon in Serbia. I wonder if that's a typo, because the story on IO9 says Serbia, which is not a great place to film, I would think, right now. I would think Siberia would be more likely. What do I know? Last up in DC media news, Brandon brought this up to me. You guys know what Nendroids are?
I've heard of androids.
Wow, you are really stretching on that. Nendroids are from Good Smile Company. They are usually super deformed little figures that can be posed in certain ways. Large heads, little bodies.
Okay.
They are coming out with a version of Harley Quinn from the Suicide Squad film. Almost makes you want to buy one. Take a look at the link I sent you guys, because it's actually fairly cute. Comes complete with a bat, I think a couple different styles of faces. It's interesting. I don't quite know what other word to use, because there's something slightly adorable about it, but it's hitting this weird middling point in my brain. I do, but don't want to spend money on it.
I'd like the posability.
The posability is nice. The colors they chose for the hair are very vibrant. The facial makeup, too. Like I said, it's this weird middling point where I like it, but I don't know. Maybe it's the proportions of the figure. It reminds me of a toddler. Maybe that's where I'm hitting a disconnect here. Okay, we now have general media news. This is where we talk about geeky properties and multimedia that are not Marvel or DC related. As we discussed, as of August 30th, unfortunately, we lost Gene Wilder to complications with Alzheimer's disease. He apparently had been suffering quietly for the last decade with it. I was not aware he remarried. He had an infamous marriage with Gilda Radner, which was cut short because she died a long time ago, I believe to cancer. I didn't know he remarried. But an interesting factoid came out this past week via lettersofnote.com. You know that Gene Wilder almost didn't accept the role of Willy Wonka for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory way back when?
I know that is the one movie he absolutely hates being known for.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, it was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was the Tim Burton version that came later. Wilder told the director of the movie, Mel Stewart, that he had thought up of a scene that had to be included in the film for him to accept the role.
Mel Brooks?
No, Mel Stewart. Oh. Mel Stewart is the director of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Right.
If Mel Brooks directed that film...
I'm thinking Blazing Saddles, sorry.
Yeah, if Mel Brooks directed that film, I can only imagine what Chocolate Factory means. According to lettersofnote.com, the statement by Wilder was, quote, "When I make my entrance, I'd like to come out of the door carrying a cane and then walk toward the crowd with a limp. After the crowd sees Willy Wonka as a cripple, they all whisper themselves and become deathly quiet. As I walk towards them, my cane sinks into one of the cobblestones I'm walking on and stands straight up by itself. But I keep on walking until I realize that I no longer have my cane. I start to fall forward, and just before I hit the ground, I do a beautiful forward somersault and bounce back up to great applause," unquote. So one of the most iconic scenes in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was Gene Wilder's fever dream. That's amazing, isn't it?
It's certainly a memorable scene. I still remember that.
Yep.
The reason he wanted to include that scene is, according to Wilder, for the quote, "because from that time on, no one will know if I'm lying or telling the truth," unquote.
Yep.
He was just trying to add to the complete mystique of the character before anything had even really started with him. God, I realize he hasn't made movies in like 20 years, but I'm going to miss that man.
Sad.
Yeah. There is a TV show that's apparently coming out that nearly made it into WTF this week.
Okay.
Fox is coming out with a new cop show.
Okay.
Oh.
It's titled Camelot.
Wait, what?
It's going to be set in New York City. According to the Hollywood Reporter, quote, "When an ancient magic reawakens in modern-day Manhattan, a graffiti artist named Art must team up with his best friend Lance and his ex, Gwen, an idealistic cop, in order to realize his destiny and fight back against the evil forces that threaten the city," unquote. Oh, dear God.
Wow. Really? Wow.
I am dead serious.
They are stretching for that.
Oh, man, a buddy cop show with modern versions of King Arthur's Camelot. I say thee nay, sir.
And I thought the buddy cop of Lethal Weapon, the buddy cop series Lethal Weapon was bad.
Yeah, they are stretching more than Plastic Man on this one. And
I know. I'm not talking about the movies. I'm talking about, I forget which station is doing it, but they're doing a Lethal Weapon TV series.
That is Fox as well.
Oh God,
that's a Fox property. Yeah, I'm going to say a hard no on that. I can't picture that being any fun.
No, because New York is exactly what I think of when I hear Camelot.
I'm trying to imagine what the Lady of the Lake is going to do if she has to appear and throw that sword. She appears in the middle of the Hudson with like old Band-Aids and needles jammed in her or something. No way.
Audrey Tart lobs a scimitar.
No, Excalibur is going to be a 9mm Glock or some shit. I don't know. It hurts.
This is not happening. No way. Now, there is a chance for a Warcraft film sequel. The movie did pretty poorly in the U.S. it made $47 million in the U.S. It had a reported budget of $160 million to make, and as you can imagine, those budgets usually don't include marketing. However, the movie did gangbusters business, especially in China and Korea, which, of course, has a huge gaming market.
Mm-hmm.
According to the Thrillist website, the director of Warcraft, Duncan Jones, admitted that making a mythology-heavy video game adaptation in the studio system was a struggle. Quote, I know that the movie is not perfect, and I think one of the absolute frustrations of making a movie of this scale is that it is impossible, I think, to make a movie like this as an independent filmmaker. You have to find a way to squeeze it through the studio bureaucracies. Trying to make a movie like Warcraft and trying to do it in a unique way, you get killed by a death of 1,000 cuts. Not just editing cuts, it's little changes that seem really innocuous. As a filmmaker, the only way that I understand how to make a film is holistically. Every choice that I make, whether it is the story or character or costume, all works together. When you make a little change, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. When you keep making those little changes, especially over 3.5 years, suddenly you're basically spending all your time trying to work out how to patch up what's already been messed around with, unquote.
Yeah, that
now,
sounds about right. That sounds about what the movie was.
Yeah, now the movie made $386 million internationally, which in the end made money for Legendary Studios. $221 million of that was China.
Wow.
That's leading to speculation that if there is a Warcraft sequel, it may not even open in the United States. Sky Moore, who is a partner at a company called Starak and Lavin that's worked on a lot of U.S.-China co-production deals, speculated, quote, who says it needs to have American actors? I would suspect that the sequel will be more China-centric. It's very possible it wouldn't be released here, unquote.
Well, except on video, maybe.
I'm not saying that it wouldn't be... they're saying it wouldn't be released theatrically. Nobody said it would never come to our shores.
Right.
Goodness knows, if we can get Jackie Chan films, we could get this. It would be interesting if they actually made a movie with U.S. studios that didn't open in the U.S. And I say interesting not by the fact that it would make me want to see it, just by the fact that there is enough of a market in China now to float its own independent stories.
Mm.
That would be a very interesting development. You know, it doesn't mean that Captain America is going to be speaking Mandarin anytime soon. Have you guys been keeping track of the new Westworld that HBO is coming out with on October 2nd?
No.
I am enwrapped by this idea. Westworld was based on a movie, and I don't remember what it was called. It starred Yul Brynner a while ago. It was a movie that I want to say came out in the 70s about people who were going to an amusement park that was staffed almost entirely by robots, and you were allowed to walk through several different scenarios. The Westworld TV show focuses on one segment of that movie's premise where they had an entire theme park that was Western-based. They called it Westworld in the movie, okay?
Okay.
And in this park, you can do anything that you could generally do in the Old West. You know, laws were limited because everything was android synthetic. You didn't have to worry about shooting things. You could have sex with the robotic prostitutes and all that. And, of course, being a movie, everything was supposedly very human-centric, right? Or human-like, I should say. It's not like they were making love to things that looked like C-3PO.
Right.
That would have been disturbing. So HBO and Warner Brothers has turned this into a TV show. They produced the second trailer this week, and I'm probably going to burn up HBO Go when this series comes out, man. Would you like to see what this is about?
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, like I said, it's science fiction, and it seems like a lot of it begs the idea as to whether or not such a violent hobby would be productive is not the right word, worthwhile. You know, whether or not it would actually be soul cleansing in any way, or whether or not it's just people engaging in their basest possible desires, as well as it looks like the possibility that some of the androids are becoming self-aware. I sent the video.
Came back.
I think James Marsden is in this trailer a lot. He's the guy who played Cyclops in the original Fox X-Men films.
The world out there is calling me. You're one of them, aren't you? You're not real.
Bring yourself back online.
Anthony Hopkins is in this show, too.
Do you know where you are?
I think somebody just
I'm in a dream.
changed her to a maintenance protocol.
I designed every part of this place. It's not a theme park, but an entire world.
You and everyone you know were built to gratify the desires of the people who pay to visit your world.
Is that a creepy enough inflection?
Just don't forget.
Implication, sorry.
Not real. What you and I do is so complicated.
I need your help, Dolores. I think I made a mistake.
I think it's no secret this is going to be a dark series.
I think there may be something wrong.
J.J. Abrams worked on this.
No choice you ever made was your own. You have always been a prisoner.
Some weird symbologies in this too.
What if I told you I'm here to set you free?
Self-sealing body bag.
Mm-hmm.
Very old friends.
No, I wouldn't say friends, Dolores. I wouldn't say that at all.
I'm very interested by that trailer, but that last bit of dialogue by Hopkins, I've never seen a more well-placed pause.
Yeah.
I was basically wondering if he's one of them.
I don't know, but that's why I'm intrigued by the series.
Yes.
Because, you know, like I said, it seems dark, and I don't... It might be a little bit on the gratuitously violent side, but mind you, I watch Game of Thrones. I don't think it could get any worse, really. But I am really intrigued by the idea that it seems like several of the androids are becoming self-aware, both for the sense that they want to become better people, and it seems like a few of them don't give a shit about becoming better people. Seems like a couple of them just want to run wild while they got the chance.
Huh.
What do you guys think?
It's a very fascinating concept, actually.
So
I'm curious to watch it myself.
It's hard to put into words. It's one of those things where you really have to sit down, watch the trailers, and just decide whether or not you're going to do it. One of the movies from our generation is getting a re-release in 3D.
Which one?
Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Okay, that's worth it.
It doesn't say when the Blu-ray is coming out, but it does say that the story from August 29th, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, isn't just getting a 3D Blu-ray release, it's getting a 3D theatrical release in 2017.
Now, is it going to be the original theatrical release or the director's cut?
I don't really know. In 2015, news broke that the original director of the film, James Cameron, was working on the 3D version of the film for release in 2016. Looks like they missed that schedule, so now it's being released in 2017. The official Facebook for Terminator 2 released the poster as of this past Monday, which would have been August 29th. So it appears it's coming relatively soon. Is that a movie you would go back to the theater for?
Yes.
I don't know if I'd pay full price, but maybe a matinee. That'd be kind of cool.
Definitely. Yeah, but
you know,
I remember when it first came out in theaters, it took forever to go away.
Oh God, man, that thing had staying power when it came out way back in what 90, I think.
Somewhere around that time, yeah. But
I think
it took forever to get out of the theaters, like 6-8 months. It was there.
Yeah, that was the first movie I ever went to a midnight release of. That was back when those things were very rare occurrences, not like today. And it was an engrossing film. You really got into the struggle of these characters pretty fast. I don't know if Edward Furlong's little Eddie Furlong, he might be a little annoying by today's standards, though.
Yeah.
You know, just won't know till you see it. There's been some bad news, though, when it comes to nerdy films. There's been a bad accident this week. They were working on the Blade Runner sequel. Blade Runner 2 is probably one of those sequels that a lot of people beg for, but you just don't know if the sequel's going to live up to any of the hype the original had. Mm-hmm. Of course, the original Blade Runner was with a very young Harrison Ford. It also had Rutger Hauer as one of the primary villains. It also had Sean Young as a very interesting character in there. No, none of those actors have been cast in this movie as far as I'm aware. It's all new people for this sequel. Unfortunately, a 28-year-old Hungarian construction worker was killed on the set.
Ooh.
And it's one of the more unlikely accidents that happen. Apparently, one of the sets he was working on, he was trying to take apart, and it collapsed on top of him. He was just dismantling one of the sets when it caved in. According to Origo Studios in a press statement, quote, "The worker was underneath a platform upon which the set was constructed when it suddenly collapsed. The cause of the accident is not yet known," unquote. As of right now, the cause of the collapse is still unknown, and they haven't released the name of the man, nor do I really need them to. It's one of those instances where I'm sure there's a lot of podcasts that, like us, talk about nerdy entertainment, but not a lot talk about the little people who unfortunately sometimes have very serious problems when these movies are made. And I just didn't want to let it go that this guy unfortunately died in a pure accident.
No.
You know, he was only 28, for Christ's sake. He was younger than all of us.
Yep.
Moving into something a little more interesting. There's a game developer called Ultra that is developing a game called Echo. They released they released a video on YouTube this week, and I usually don't talk about video games on this show because, you know, Anthony and Greg do a pretty good job of talking about video games every week in their own podcast. I don't want to step on toes. But when I saw this video, I had to share it with you guys because it's not even a game I would say I would necessarily play. But the idea was so frickin' awesome. Would you guys like to see what gets my attention?
Okay.
Sure.
I can hear fear. Believe me, man, it's a complicated game. This sounds like it's up to Steve's alley, really. I sent the video. Ultra.
He was right. It all looks completely untouched.
Look at this palace.
Whoa.
Something's not right.
Very textured game, right?
She's waking up.
Check this out. The place lights up, and look at it.
Wow.
This is a gorgeous, like, white with gold trim area.
In Echo, you must survive the strange workings of the palace. It studies everything you do.
It's incredibly beautiful, isn't it?
Everything you
Yes.
are, to use it against you.
Now check this out. This is the rub.
That's you, Em.
Multiple clones of your character just showed up.
The Echoes are exact copies in every way. They behave like you, and only do the things you do.
Think about that for a moment.
Uh-huh.
So it's the way you play the game that shapes your enemy.
How do you like that possibility?
That...
It learns, and it sends copies of you to destroy you. Ooh!
Interesting.
Shot through the eye.
Every interaction, every movement has consequence. But it's only once your behavior diverges enough from the current Echoes, and the palace reboots.
So you showed enough new stuff,
that
and you're in the
Echoes
darkness.
will be updated. So when the light returns, you'll be facing its newest version of you.
How about that?
Reborn with all the choices you made in the last cycle.
They learn.
This is fascinating because it's forcing people to change tactics instead of relying on what always works.
Or trying to become very one technique, at least when the lights are on. So when the lights are out, do what you need to do however you do it. Nothing's watching.
The only way the Echoes never change is that they'll always want
This
to kill
is...
you. But you decide which tools they have at their disposal. If you
What do you think so far?
So will they. After
It's an interesting idea.
Always stay a step ahead of the Echoes.
Excellent graphics, too. The graphics are really nice. Look at him getting overrun by multiples.
Yeah.
It's a very, very unique version of survival horror, really.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta imagine how disturbing it is to kill copies of yourself.
I know, but just think that while the lights are on, they're constantly learning, and as soon as when the lights go out and they come back on, everything you've done, they come at you with.
Yeah, when you said Echo, I thought of the old Sega game.
The Dolphin games? Hell no.
Yeah.
Let me just ask a straight question. Would you play this? Because if you give me the opportunity, I would wholeheartedly check something like that out.
That one...
I'm curious. I really want to test
curious.
this out. It's a game that definitely forces you to change.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also to examine your strategy.
Yep. Keep doing the same thing over and over, you'll eventually get caught. It's pretty much a guarantee. There was a 9-minute video that came out this week. I don't think we have time to do all of that. That would be kind of engrossing. It came out on YouTube via Erasmus Brosdo. Anybody know that name?
No.
Sounds familiar.
He's an art director at Crysis. He's an art director at Crytek. They're the company that made the Crysis series of games.
Uh-huh.
In his spare time, he's been working on a short film of a particular subject for the past 6 years. Now it's done, and supposedly it's going to be a prologue for a wider story. That story is set in the universe of Warhammer 40K.
Oh.
So, I mean, we've seen fan art of all kinds, right? We've seen what it looks like when people are trying their best to put together a series based on something they love. How would you like to see when that person who's trying to put together a fan video also happens to be a professional in the industry?
Sure.
I sent the video. This movie is 100% fan-made and in no way official. The following footage is 100% rendered in real time. God, industry connections must be great.
Aren't you working on a few?
Shut up! Howard Chaykin is still looking to kick my ass, I'm pretty sure. Not much to see so far.
No.
How's that for detail? Look at that city ship.
Seems standard fare for Warhammer.
I don't really know. I've never played the games. I haven't found much interest in the Ultramarines and stuff.
I've seen enough of their miniatures, so I know what to look at. There's no what I'm looking at.
Holy Terra. What are the coordinates?
Earth, probably?
Yeah.
Well, it says Holy Terra. I was just wondering what the coordinates meant. I didn't know if you guys knew any special meaning behind
that's date.
Oh, okay. See, this is why I ask. There are certain things I don't know.
We are ready to proceed.
What do you think of the look of the Inquisitors here?
Time to start our own little procession. Let's pay our dear friend a visit.
Very 40K.
Voice actors could use a little bit of work, but you know, it's a fan video, so I should just shut up. Hey, you can only be so critical about somebody who's not being paid to do something.
Right.
This definitely looks like the guy put in 6 years' worth of work, I'd say. For a fan video, this is fracking impressive. How about this?
That's an interesting use of background and 3D rendering.
Yeah, a lot of details in those dirigibles.
That dagger hilt was pretty detailed.
Mm-hmm. This actually looks pretty close to the quality that Sony put out with Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within way back when.
Yeah, you're right.
And I'm not saying that to be I'm not saying that to be a jerk, because when that movie came out, it was cutting-edge graphics. You know, nobody could tell the difference in certain angles and pictures.
Almost, aside from the skull motif, it does feel like it.
The kind of skull and dour motif seems to pretty well be pervasive of Warhammer, as far as I understand.
Yeah,
well, yeah, it's
definitely.
the Gothic.
Okay. You know, the marching.
Are those Imperials?
Yes. Those are Marines
Imperial
marching in
Guard,
real time.
Yeah.
And remember,
those guys are way too small for Marines.
Well, he posted that, again, this was all rendered in real time.
Right.
By the time he was done with his 9-minute video, I'm sure his computer tried to get up off its desk, grab a katana, and just ram itself through the CPU. So I don't want to go through the whole video. It's already 3 minutes, so I'm going to stop it there for myself. What do you think so far of his work?
Interesting.
Really impressive. Wow.
And that's supposed to be the precursor of something else coming out. So I'm sure Steve, at least, will probably look that back up by the time we're done.
Yeah.
I do have another video to share. This one, I think we'll have to watch its entirety. And I'm going to say think because it's about 3.5 minutes long. And there is a chance that you guys will tune out beforehand or just be uninterested. However, I doubt that based on what I know about you. What do you know about a French animated show out online called Wakfu?
Nothing.
No, I've only heard of the game.
Okay, Wakfu is... I would say it's anime-like. And when I say that, I'm sure you guys understand the description and how I feel about anime when people try and describe it as a genre. It's a cartoon, for freak's sakes. But for a French cartoon, this has a lot of anime-style motion and direction. The characters seem to be kind of a cross between Japanese characters and Looney Tunes, if I had to give it a description. This is a fight between two of the primary characters called Julith, who is the woman who looks like a dark elf, and Carabim, who is an anthropomorphic cat.
Gotcha.
And I want to share this with you because I have a feeling that somewhere during our break we're probably going to watch this, and this may be the subject of an upcoming show because I was thoroughly impressed. This show is entering its 3rd season sometime relatively soon. 2 full seasons are out, and just by watching this one video, I got to know more. Okay, I sent the video. Alright, so this was done via an AMV off the channel of Iro Sef, IRO space SEF. And I don't know about the audio, but if you check the quality of the video, it's a thoroughly impressive clip. And it makes me really curious to watch the show. It's subtitled in English. It's usually French language. There's Julith.
Décidément, les coïncidences se succèdent.
It doesn't matter if you're threatening my life or not. French is hot, man. That's Carabim.
With some big nunchucks.
Oh, dude. Watch, man. The Japanese would be proud if they watched this show. And he could... Apparently that serum gives him some strength and a little bit of drunken style. My God, man, for a Flash show, this must have had a computer having a minor heart attack. It's a very fluid animation style, though.
Yes, for a Flash series, yeah.
Actually, when I first watched this fight, it reminded me of like playing the original Final Fantasy VII. The same kind of enemies that just kind of appear and disappear as you're trying to fight.
Yeah.
Even the special effects are really good and thought out. Trapdoor. You haven't seen this before, Jesse? What do you think?
It reminds me of some band animations, but this is way smoother.
Yeah? I'm not really aware of what the company does Wakfu. I'll have to look it up, but they really need to take pride in this. This is some incredible work. This is the kind of show I wish was on TV so my kids could watch it.
Okay, where are we going with this?
As comically large as those chucks are, you
can see the impact.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
Speaking of feeling the impact, look at that beam through the chest.
Oh, yeah.
It seems to have ripped his home in half.
And he's walking it off?
Nope. No. He's doing the dead man's walk. What do you think? Should that be a subject soon?
Interesting.
Oh, look, angelic style. For a second, I thought he was going to spit out his heart. He got away. Damn, man.
He did not die.
That is a tough cat. Yeah, I need to see more of the show now. That is really cool. Last up in general media news, Hot Toys wants more money.
Oh, what did he do this time?
Oh, they've decided to dip their toes into a property that's not even out yet. They've come up with their first figure from Star Wars Rogue One. Want to take a wild guess as to which character they've come out with first?
The girl?
Yeah.
No. Jyn Erso? No. Any other guesses?
The blind Jedi-like guy?
Nope.
The Stormtrooper guy?
No.
Okay, don't leave us in suspense. Tell us.
Okay. They've come out with what is a first when it comes to cinematic reveals. Their first figure is the Death Trooper. The all-black Stormtrooper unit.
That was previously guys that can actually hit?
Well, I don't know much about what Death Troopers mean in this continuity. I know about Black Hole Troopers from the old expanded universe, but I don't know what this is. Because the figure itself has no face, it has a helmet, as you can imagine. It has the same kind of body style that a lot of the previous Hot Toys figures do. Very articulated, lots and lots of accessories, as you can see from these images. The rifle, the knife pack on the shoulder, the officer's pauldron on the other shoulder, and pockets a number...
galore.
I know. Cable would be proud with the number of pouches this thing has. You can see some sidearm that looks very reminiscent of Han Solo's blaster on his thigh, too. Almost makes you wonder if it's a modified version that he's been carrying all those years.
The barrel is definitely shorter, but...
I said modified.
Now, is that a blaster or some kind of scattergun as his primary weapon?
I'm not entirely sure. Looking at it, it looks like it could be... It has a shotgun formation, however, the long barrel almost makes it look like it could be a grenade launcher of some type.
Maybe that's what all the vents are, or the holes are for.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the IO9 story that I found this on didn't have a lot of description other than those cylindrical canisters on the front of his belt being grenades. Other than that, I have very little information to go on. There is no information about when it will be released. It's expected November, December. The projected retail on it is actually kind of low when it comes to Hot Toys lately at $235.
How big are these?
If these are in line with the other figures, these are approximately 14 inches tall.
That's not bad.
No, actually, for what you're getting good value for your money with all the crap this thing has on it. Because I can almost guarantee that it's going to have more than one pair of hands right now.
It's kind of going to have to.
Yeah. That close-up of it holding the shotgun akimbo, I'm looking at the details on those gauntlets. Do you see the tubules on its offhand? On the outside of the gauntlet on its left arm.
Flashbangs? Or some kind of...
I don't know what those are. I don't really care what those are. I'm just impressed with the detail, because those would not be big. You can see multiple ridges and widths on that tube. That's impressive as hell. Not saying I would own it, because, again, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but as far as detail, I'm highly impressed. Goodness knows, that Sideshow already gets enough of my money. I'm still paying off that Dark Phoenix statue. Oh, that comes out in January, dude. Going to be a happy camper. Now we have Marvel comic news. We'll talk about the Marvel properties that are heading for the comic book pages. If not soon, then they're already coming. Last week, we talked about a new mystery project that was coming out called Mu, M-U. There have been guesses, but we weren't entirely sure what it meant. Over the past week, a number of creators have been attached to this title, including Salvador LaRocca, Lenil Yu, Steve McNiven, Greg Land, Cullen Bunn, and Adam Kubert. And all week, people have been wondering, what in the hell could this be? Well, Marvel decided that they didn't want to stretch this out over weeks, as they usually do. It turns out MU stands for their new series, Monsters Unleashed. There are no details beyond the series title and the logo. However, there have been monsters in the history of the Marvel Universe, including Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, a number of different vampires, werewolf and werewolf by night, And a monster a lot of people tend to discount in the Marvel Universe until he arrives, the Man-Thing. Man-Thing is kind of a big deal once he arrives. He is, after all, the guardian of the gate to the multiverse. There might be an interesting connection here, because Monsters Unleashed, the second live-action Scooby-Doo film was titled Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed, and it was written by a currently famous man called James Gunn. Monsters Unleashed is scheduled to start in January 2017. New concept art has also been released as to what the new look of Robbie Reyes, the fourth Ghost Rider, is going to be in the new Ghost Rider #1 coming out later this year. It appears that mask he's wearing is going to be a lot more interactive in this series. In the first series, the Ghost Rider's death head was just a steel mask. Fire would leak out of interesting places, including that valve that mimicked a blower on his forehead. Check out this concept art, because now it looks like the jaw on that mask is able to open and close. I wonder if they're going. I wonder if they're going to go for
scary.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to go for something similar in the TV series. But that wasn't the only concept art that was released, because I'm going to send you guys another picture of what they called the Hell Charger, the modified 1971 Charger that this Ghost Rider uses. I didn't know it had a name. This looks like an evil nightmare out of the Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, I'm trying to picture this thing in live action, all black, tires and blowers, blazing fire coming up in your rearview mirror. You had better hope you have vinyl seats.
I don't know. See, this kind of reminds me of an old Stephen King movie. Forget which one it was.
You don't mean that Quentin Tarantino Death Proof, do you?
Death Proof? No. I don't think so.
I think it featured one of those.
Well,
what?
No, I can't think of it. I never saw the title. I saw a clip of it, and there was a car burrowing through the ground. It's like, Anyways.
Okay. You mean Christine?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll let that go. Not everything is rosy in the land of Marvel. 2 series cancellations were announced this week. First up, Howard the Duck is losing his current series. The series finale comes out this month, actually, this September. I believe it's going to end with issue 14. Oh, no, sorry, issue 11 will be the last issue of Howard the Duck in this current run. Also announced this week that the 6th issue of Nighthawk will be its last. Nighthawk apparently was not selling well, although it was a critical darling about the remade version from the Squadron Supreme, which turned out to be a very angry black man. I honestly found a lot of, at least conceptual comparisons between this current version of Nighthawk and the 90s hero Shadowhawk. I say conceptual, I'm not going to say execution-wise. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it will be recollected in a volume eventually, all 1 through 6. It's going to be released in 2017. By the time that comes out, I might actually take a flip through of this, because as curious as I've been, the only issue I have with new comic books coming out is it's not always easy to pick up new ones when there's already so many that are ongoing that I like to read.
Yeah.
So this ended up in a sideways pile simply because I wasn't looking for it. And there's already so much continuity I got to keep track of. Dead No More, the Spider-Man story that the Jackal is the lead villain in. Remember, he was gathering different people to his side already before the event technically started?
Right.
He has 2 more as of Amazing Spider-Man 17 that came out this week. And oddly enough, one of those is a resurrection of sorts.
Wow, that would be in fitting with the title.
Well, get this. You know how Peter Parker right now has several different things going on because he runs Parker Industries?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people he actually allows to dress up as Spider-Man due to his abilities and his stealthy capabilities is the Prowler, Hobie Brown. So Hobie Brown was checking out a company called New You, which, as it turns out, New You is a front for the Jackal's operation.
Okay.
As he was sneaking around, he ran foul of Electro, Max Dillon.
Huh.
Not a good thing to run afoul of, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as the two of them were fighting, Electro was blindsided, actually, by his current girlfriend. and I don't remember her name. Oh, I'm sorry, Francine. Francine somehow siphoned off Electro's capabilities and became the new Electro.
Huh.
She absorbed Max Dillon's powers, and it seems very likely the man himself. He's incapacitated. And she took those abilities with a large wire, wrapped it around Hobie Brown's neck, and electrocuted him to a crisp.
Ooh.
And he died. Then he woke up again.
Oh, dear.
The Jackal cloned him.
Oh, wonderful.
So guess who now works for the Jackal?
I guess length of death has no factor in this.
Well, you know, we've talked about that. Death is a story device in comics because characters can only be only so long-lived. And in this case, it's very similar to what's happened with Captain America. The character was brought back, but with a new set of motivations. That's a deep mold to have in Parker Industries, too. One of the guys that occasionally dresses up as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Dude. And Marvel has hired a new assistant editor of Marvel's digital content. Her name is Christine Din. She'll be working out of the LA office. I've driven by that place a few times. I don't have much information about her beyond that. She previously worked for DC Comics, Warner Brothers, Boom Studios, and Top Cow. So either she's very good at her job or she requires new jobs very often. Last up in Marvel comic news, there's a series called Civil War II Choosing Sides about how several heroes in the Marvel Universe have to decide where they land on the current fight between Tony Stark and Carol Danvers.
Mm-hmm.
Between Chip Zdarsky and Ramon Perez, they wrote a story that involved the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. It was kind of an interesting story because Tony Stark went to Trudeau to try and earn his help, and Trudeau argued that he would only help him if the two of them had a boxing match to decide whether or not he would. And Trudeau beat the shit out of Tony Stark. So he basically tells them that there's a middle ground that no one has even bothered to try fighting for. So, according to the comic book, Trudeau and Alpha Flight are going to try and stay out of all of America's bullshit for now.
Okay.
You know what? Living in this country, I would say that's a fair thing to do. Just stay out of it. It is too damn complicated and too stupid. Hey guys, what do you think is the hardest part about collecting comics?
Money?
You cheap mother. Steve, what do you think is the hardest part about collecting comics?
I don't know, just figuring out which ones to get.
It's true. Finding key issues is rough. But I think the hardest part of collecting comics is getting signatures. You got to find out where creators are going to appear, you got to get the plane tickets, you got to get a hotel room, buy a badge, feed yourself, and then wait for hours on end and hope that the person you're there to see doesn't decide they've had enough and they really want a sandwich at this moment.
Yeah. Or they're off to another panel.
That's happened to me a couple times. I think I've annoyed Brian Michael Bendis enough. He might actually know who I am. But that's why I go to Celestial Comics for signatures. Celestial Comics, they've made inroads in the industry, and they can get you a signature for only a few dollars above the price of the signature. And the best part is they'll do all the legwork and the hard work while I get to keep my fat ass at home.
Yeah, that's pretty damn convenient.
Yeah,
and
my ass is pretty
lazy.
fat. Thank you. I needed that. That's going to work great for my confidence. Celestial Comics is organized enough that they can even send it directly to grading if you want it to be. You'll find events that they're going to appear at their website or get instructions on how to send them your comics at celestial-comics.com. You can go there today and take your collection to a whole nother level. That's celestial-comics.com. Then there is DC Comic News. We'll talk about the other major property and the stories that they have coming to pages near you soon. DC has reason to crow, man. Last month, they took over market share from Marvel. That probably has to do with Rebirth, because obviously that released a ton of number ones. But you can't argue with success, because DC announced that this summer they have shipped 12 million comic books. 11 single issues topped more than 200,000 sales. Wow. More than 60 issues exceeded 100,000. And 21 titles went back for multiple prints. You just can't argue with success. They're doing it. Now, the trick is going to be... the trick is similar to Villains Month, because Villains Month allowed DC to take over market share for a bright, shining minute because it released a ton of number ones. And I am not saying that what DC's been releasing in Rebirth isn't quality. They've released a lot of interesting new possibilities and stories, but the question is, will it keep readers?
Mm.
And that's just not something we'll know until the next month's sales come out. Which should probably come out in the next couple months here, because we need to get the August sales to see, where they landed currently. But they do have an announcement for an interesting new crossover that makes me remember being 3 years old and watching reruns with my parents.
Okay.
DC Comics and Dynamite Entertainment are releasing Wonder Woman 77 Meets the Bionic Woman.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw an article about that.
Yep. The Linda Carter version of Wonder Woman from TV and Lindsay Wagner's Bionic Woman, very much icons of 70s TV. They're going to have a collaborative crossover special coming this December. The painted cover looks so damn happy. I can't say I would read it, but it's giving me a nostalgia boner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, Linda Carter was how a lot of people in the 80s discovered puberty. Those reruns were important to a lot of kids, man. And DC signed 3 new exclusive artists this week. 3 of them. They've agreed to exclusives with artists Robson Rocha and Otto Schmidt. Rocha is one of the pencilers for the current Green Lantern series starring Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz. Otto Schmidt is one of the artists on the current Green Arrow series. So now these artists will exclusively produce work for DC and Vertigo. And the 3rd exclusive they signed was actually a former Marvel Young Guns artist. Rafa Sandoval was recently signed to an exclusive contract. The exclusive was offered to him after he completed the first 3 issues of Hal Jordan and the Green Lanterns. And Sandoval has been working in comics for 9 years.
Wow.
He started in 2007 on Marvel Adventures Iron Man number 5. Then he worked with Marvel from 2007 to 2012 on The Incredible Hercules, Young X-Men, and the 3-part Ultimate Enemy, Ultimate Mystery, and Ultimate Doom titles. Then in 2012, he moved to DC, working for 2 years on Catwoman, Suicide Squad, and in Valiant's Harbinger, Omegas, and X-O Manowar. This man, he's earned his money. Batman may be losing another sidekick soon.
Oh.
Yes. Detective Comics. We've read a little bit about that, where Batman formed that team underneath Batwoman to discover more about the colony, as you recall.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we've seen several solicits of their covers. Issue 940 in particular seemed kind of interesting because it appeared to be a bunch, every character in there, Batman, Batwoman, Clayface, Orphan, Red Robin, and Spoiler, they all appear to be around the body of a colony person, like a soldier, who seems pretty dead. And it's created a lot of interest online just trying to figure out, why would this be important? Did they kill Colonel Kane? Did they kill Batwoman's father? Batman's uncle? But this week, a new version of the cover came out. And I'm going to send you a side-by-side that Newsarama did, because you'll notice that when you take a look, all of a sudden, one of the characters of the series is missing. You see the one on the left, the one without the title. If you take a look at the one on the right, Red Robin has vanished from it for some reason.
Right.
So that is leading people to wonder, is there going to be another death in the family? Steve might recognize that little pun title there.
Yeah.
The infamous story where Jason Todd was beaten up by the Joker with a crowbar and then exploded.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to wonder if that colony soldier at the bottom of the panel, is he going to be replaced with the body of Tim Drake?
Or if that was Tim Drake trying to infiltrate.
Or if that was Hush again.
Yeah, killing off Tim Drake, that's going to leave an impact because he's well-liked.
Well, he's well-liked by readers and generally by characters in DC. However, to my knowledge, unlike most of Batman's sidekicks, Tim Drake hasn't died yet.
No.
I don't believe he's had a single death as of yet, so this would be new territory.
Just discussing it that way just amuses me.
What? It's true. You know, all that means is that Duke had better watch out, because that yellow suit may have an R stamped on it pretty soon, and as soon as you get that, that's like the scarlet letter. You're gonna get killed! There are some new plans for Batman Day this upcoming September 17th. To commemorate Batman Day this year, fans will receive a copy of Batman #1's DC Rebirth, written by Tom King and illustrated by Dave Finch. This will happen at major retailers including Pottery Barn's Kids, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million, as well as hundreds of schools and public libraries that will host fan events with activities at locations nationwide. And Six Flags parks across the U.S. will distribute free copies of Batman #1. You'll also be able to download for free a family-friendly Batman Day activity kit, including activity sheets, trivia, and games. God, they're going all out, aren't they?
Apparently.
Digital readers can get on Batman Day 2 through 2 massive digital comic sales. From September 13th to the 19th, the Road to Batman Day sale is going to offer 15 ebooks and 100 digital periodical issues featuring Batman titles like Hush and The Dark Knight Returns. Ebooks will be on sale for $5.99, and periodicals will have a 75% discount. And on Batman Day itself, on September 17th, Batman Volume 7 Endgame and Batman Adventures #1 will be on sale for $3.99 each. Man, September 17th is definitely going to be the day to get your bat on. A new crossover has been announced for DC Comics. As you can tell, there's a lot of DC news this week. DC has decided to take 2 of its more well-known properties and pit them against each other. In the first post-Rebirth crossover event, get ready for Justice League versus the Suicide Squad this December.
I don't think that's much of a challenge.
I personally don't think that's fair, especially since half of the Suicide Squad was put in jail by one member of the Justice League. According to a newspaper article, Batman begins to question the viability of Amanda Waller's Task Force X with the Justice League already in operation, and he decides to put a stop to it. Like he's been able to stop any of the members of the Suicide Squad from doing what they want to begin with.
I don't think he's trying to stop them. I think he's trying to stop Amanda Waller.
Okay, well, the cover image tells a very, very, very different tale, with Batman holding Katana's blade, the Soul Reaper, as well as one of Deadlock's targeting eyepieces, holding up Harley Quinn, who has stolen Wonder Woman's tiara and the Lasso of Truth, as well as one of the Green Lantern's rings. Somebody tell me what happened here. Because that doesn't look like Batman stopping Task Force X. That looks like Batman joining it. If you can lend some insight, please, because I am at a loss.
I think it is, cover...
it's Clayface for the 20th time.
Well, the covers just don't usually, portray exactly what happens, and it's meant to be eye-catching. That's eye-catching.
Granted.
Yes, very
much granted. Yeah. DC has a new title coming out from his Vertigo imprint, where, as you know, Vertigo is not part of DC's regular universe. It's being called The Western Meets the New Ice Age. The series is called Frostbite. It's going to be written by Joshua Williamson, who's worked on The Flash, and with art by Jason Sean Alexander. It's supposed to be set in a frozen, futuristic environment where people survive the start of an ice age and still have modern technology, with the story centering on a tough-as-nails woman named Keaton, who leads a crew that transports human cargo across the world's dangerous icy landscapes. But even where humans live is at risk as the story opens, because a new contagious illness is spreading through humanity. A deadly disease nicknamed frostbite that literally turns people into ice by freezing the moisture in their cells. Wow, that's dark. That is really dark. The series actually starts this month. Frostbite #1 comes out this September. And last up, when it comes to DC comic news, the writer of Future Quest, the Hanna-Barbera anthology comic, his name is Jeff Parker, And he says that now that the series is a few issues into its galaxy-spanning stories, Parker's making it clear to readers that he's not done bringing in characters. The first few stories have included characters like Space Ghost and Johnny Quest. In fact, Future Quest number 4 put Johnny Quest and his best friend Haji at the forefront with Space Ghost, but also features more obscure characters like the Impossibles and Birdman. Please tell me it's Harvey Birdman. The series apparently is going to create a new crossover book where characters from several of these series are going to create a new team. I don't have. I don't have the patience for this, man. I can't. I remember these cartoons as a kid, and I remember the cheese more than I remember the art.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, were they ripe with the cheese. Actually, I think I have that wrong. I think it's just an anthology book. I don't think a team is coming out of it, but that's just... It's a big risk, because that's definitely a comic that will not appeal to the current generation of kids. That would only appeal to old people like us.
Wow, I think a little older than us.
Probably true. I still remember when half those cartoons were featured on the USA Cartoon Express.
No, wow.
Yes. From there, we'll go into general comic and convention news. We'll talk about comics that are not Marvel and DC related, as well as conventions about all around the world. First up, Retcon 2017. Retcon, as it turns out, is a Swedish Transformers convention. And comic book artist Thomas Kjellstrom will be at the convention. He's going to take commissions, and he'll also be producing exclusive comic for the attendees. Retcon sent some examples of his work. Actually, I'm going to revise that and say I don't think he's a regular or a well-known Transformers comic artist. He's either independent or he's been working on international stuff. His style is very angular. I'm not entirely sure it's for me, but there's good things and bad things. Let me just put it that way. Do you guys want an example of his work?
Sure.
Remember we read Transformers More Than Meets the Eye and how round the body styles were in that?
Mm-hmm.
Here is his version of the current roster of Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, and it seems a lot more angular than the comic books. I think that's where I'm running into a bit of a disconnect.
Almost.
But they are still recognizable.
They are recognizable. It's just I'm not a fan of the style. Although Megatron back there, it looks like he stole the perfect version of Optimus Primal's body from Beast Wars.
It almost has a weird Transformers animated aesthetic to it.
Kind of. It's definitely pen and pencil work. There's nothing digital about this. You can see a bit of the pencil work in the thrusters of the Lost Light at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, he's going. I'm not going to piss on him. It's not quite my style. That's all.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Cyclonus doesn't look right to me.
Cyclonus' face doesn't look quite right to me.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. As for Megatron, the silhouette of Megatron kind of is throwing me off as well.
Yeah, Cyclonus' jaw looks huge in that image. Anime Midwest. That convention is being held every July for the last half decade. And since 2013, it's been at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare and the Donald E. Steffens Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois. So it's an anime convention with a little bit of legs to it. Which, now that I've said that, I almost regret that pun. It's been announced that this year, Anime Midwest is going to have to share space at the Donald E. Steffens Convention Center with another convention happening the same weekend, July 8th through 10th this year.
Okay.
They have to share it with the Exotica Expo.
Exotica?
Yes. Exotica with 3 X's. They have to share space with a porn expo.
Hey, that's still better than sharing it with the Bible Thumpers that one year.
I think you would get confused, because which scantily clad female am I looking at here? That's got to be an interesting conversation. I would love to know how this is going to be laid out. Will the conventions be like really close together? Are they in separate ends of a building that can hold it all? Are they, is one hall right on top of the other and people are going to be staring at each other. Either way, the constituency is going to look about the same. Really attractive females everywhere and a bunch of very shy, introverted, almost not sure what to do with themselves 20 and 30-somethings. It's amazing, isn't it? Although, get this, Anime Midwest Management, according to the story on nerdandtie.com, they probably want to distance themselves, you would think, from this porn convention publicly, right?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, they haven't said anything about it. However, Exotica Expo, their management has already embraced the idea that these two conventions are happening in the same building, and they are planning that to have anyone with an Anime Midwest badge offered discounted admission to their own Exotica Expo, and they're planning an adult anime event, including cosplay contests and sexy anime seminars. They might actually poach some people with that.
I kind of figured.
Oh, what's the term? Cross promotion?
Cross promotion or puberty in some cases. This was interesting. Image Comics is moving their headquarters from Berkeley, California to Portland, Oregon.
Berkeley to where?
Portland. They're going to Oregon.
Okay.
According to an interview with OPB's State of Wonder, Eric Stevenson, who's a publisher with the company, said, quote, "Since we have so many creators here, we're going to be able to talk to them face-to-face instead of over the phone or email or at conventions. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing, but hopefully better thanks to our proximity to creative people," unquote.
Plus, Oregon doesn't have tax.
Oh, they don't have state taxes anyway.
Right.
They don't have... I don't believe they have a state or federal tax. However, I've heard that they offset that by having tremendous food taxes. So, everything gets paid for one way or another.
True.
There's a new independent comic coming out. It's called Surgeon X. It's being done by Sarah Kenny and John Watkiss, Karen Berger, James Devlin, and Jared K. Fletcher. This sounds like a horrific story for a comic book. Imagine a future where the drugs we rely on just to handle simple things like non-life-threatening infections and the common cold, they don't work on most people.
Okay.
Now imagine a right-wing regime that only gives medicine to the people that they consider to be the most productive citizens. That is the story of Surgeon X. It's written and created by scientist/filmmaker Sarah Kinney. The art is being done by John Watkiss. It's going to be edited by Karen Berger. That would be... God, that's an interesting dystopia idea. That's almost Logan's Run-like. It's a new Image Comics series, and it's going to come out September 28th. That does sound very reminiscent of Carousel. Carousel. And Kieran Gillen, who's been enjoying a lot of success with his Image Comics series, The Wicked and the Divine, he apparently has an unannounced Marvel project coming soon.
Really?
Yeah, Gillen said on Tumblr that one of the things he's working on is, quote, unannounced Marvel thing. 2 issues written, inks arriving for the first issue, which are an utter delight. I think people will love it. It's an ongoing, unquote. It sounds like Gillen's going to be introduced in a new volume of some kind of ongoing series. And I know that Gillen's been working on The Wicked and the Divine, but that's not the only thing he's been up to. He's actually been the writer of the Darth Vader series from Marvel Comics.
Really?
Yes. That's been his deal. And as we've talked about, I think about a month and a half ago, Darth Vader's story had a half-life at 25 issues. They already determined that the series, while it was ongoing, they knew it was going to end. Because obviously you can only write so much story between movies that you haven't seen him in.
He's not like Wolverine.
Multitasking is not a superpower. No. That is not the latest in Sith powers. Color me curious. I'd like to know what series he's working on at the very least. IDW Comics is going to have a new ongoing after their latest event. They're calling it Revolutionaries. It is going to be a book where characters from several of their ongoing series are going to be mashed together into a new super team. It's going to have characters from Transformers, G.I. Joe, Rom the Space Knight, Micronauts, Action Man, and Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command. The writer will be John Barber, the artist will be Fico Ossio, and it's going to team characters from every corner of the series and universe. It's going to include guest stars, including old favorites and new additions. The regular players will be Action Man, Blackrock from Transformers, Mayday from G.I. Joe, and Cup from Transformers, as well as a rotating cast of teammates with a door for random team-ups and people dropping in and out. Would you like to see an example of the associated art with the press release?
Sure.
Because if it looks like this, man, I would probably read a lot of this. It's a good-looking series.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Something tells me that purple thing with the Autobot symbol is not Cup. I don't know what that is.
Galvatron?
It's an Autobot symbol, and they just killed Galvatron in the comics, actually.
Then I have no idea.
I'm at a loss, but IDW's been really good about introducing interesting new characters. You know, not reasons to have toys. They're introducing characters. I imagine I'm going to say that's probably Action Man down front behind Scarlet.
Right.
The thing on his shoulder is one of the Micronauts. I forget his name. He was a warrior and security expert. I'm not entirely sure who that is sitting on top of the Mask Camaro, but that design for the car, holy crap, man.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder if Hasbro's going to go through and make toys of that, Mask stuff.
In some of the IDW books I've been reading, and they've had a 7-issue short in the back about Revolution, the story that's supposed to make all this a combined universe of Hasbro properties, more or less. Get this, man. One of the Action Man's former affiliates turned out he started his own private security company, and his name was, I think, Miles Matthew. However, now that he runs his own security company, he prefers his new name of Miles Mayhem. from the Mask series.
Right.
So it appears that, and the people he's talking to are Duke and Scarlet from G.I. Joe, so it appears that G.I. Joe is about to contract Venom and its transforming vehicles to take on the Autobots, who have just set up their own colony in the Transform Metroplex, the new Autobot city. So they're already trying to weave together these stories. G.I. Joe is pissed off because they said the government's just kind of bent over for the Decepticons a while ago and allowed Cybertronians to colonize there. Now you've got a new group of Cybertronians who have ousted the Decepticons. Now it's this colony of both Autobots and Decepticons living in a transforming city, and G.I. Joe feels left in the lurch, so they're starting to look for other people to assist them in a pushback versus the Transformers.
So you think the Mask vehicles will be them reverse engineering shit?
I think they've already alluded to the fact that some Cybertronian technology was made to create the Venom vehicles at the very least. I think Mask is probably going to be introduced with the new black version of Matt Tracker, probably as the son of whoever helped Miles Mayhem create these things. And then I bet he's probably just looking for Miles Mayhem. I'm willing to bet that Mask initially will probably not give a crap about the whole Cybertronian problem.
No.
That's a guess, though.
Definitely want to read this.
I just whet the appetite, didn't I? It turns out Red Sonja is coming back, and she's coming back in her original costume, the chainmail bikini.
Oh, God. Okay.
Scott, what we read, I think towards the end of last year, how they were redesigning Vampirella, Red Sonja, and I forget who Deja Thoris from John Carter and Warrior of Mars.
Right.
And I remember liking those designs. I'm kind of surprised they went backwards in this case.
I'm not.
I know it's
Superman.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. The thing is, though, writer Amy Chu is working on it. Amy Chu, if I remember correctly, she was working on the Black Canary series for a while. Oh, no, sorry. She had a recent celebrated run on DC's Poison Ivy, but she's also written for Deadpool, The X-Files for IDW, and Infinite Ant-Man, as well as the upcoming Kiss series for Dynamite Comics. So she is not new. She's an accredited writer coming into this. The artist is Carlos Gomez. He recently finished with Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files Wild Card, which was recently collected into a hardcover graphic novel this October. So they're putting some quality people on this book. Another Deadpool artist is mixing it up for a new title called Dash Hudson. Riley Brown is the artist's name. He's one of the more frequent artists on Deadpool recently. He's worked on a new independent series called Dash Hudson, Tentacles of the Trident. It's written by somebody that just calls himself Ghost Tech. According to Riley Brown, he compares it to a spy fiction like James Bond, but also with a comedy angle a la Adventure Time. The main character of the series is obviously Dash Hudson, and he's investigating somebody called Eight Glove Marlowe. Wow, that sounds like Bad Touch all over. Oh, I'm sorry. Eight Glove Marlowe is a giant octopus / ex-heavyweight boxing champion whose crime organization is trying to take over the world. It looks like this world has a fusion of like anthropomorphic aquatic characters. I'm looking at a picture of a couple mermaids holding Tommy guns.
Interesting.
Show us.
That's very, very different. I don't know what page this came from, but here's a couple mermaids in I'd say 1940s, 1950s clothes with Tommy guns.
Huh.
All of a sudden, you have my curiosity. It sounds like a crime noir version of BioShock, really.
Still trying to figure out how those Tommy guns are going to work underwater.
I don't think they're underwater.
And they're mermaids, dude. Who knows how any of this works underwater? The Green Hornet is getting a new villain. The Green Hornet, the pulp hero from, I think, the 1940s, is still ongoing right now with First Comics. And he's actually getting a new villain in something called Reign of the Demon. David Liss, who is the writer of Marvel's Mystery Men and Dynamite's Sherlock Holmes, the Spider, and the Shadow, is doing his first Green Hornet story with Kiss artist Cooper Ball. Jeez. According to Liss, quote, Dynamite is producing amazing stories with some of the most incredible and iconic characters out there. I've loved working with major pulp icons like the Spider and the Shadow, so it's a thrill to finally get a crack at the Green Hornet. Most of my previous work at Dynamite has involved bringing pulp characters into the modern era, so it's especially exciting for me to write a story with one of these characters in a historical setting, unquote. Wow, he's an award-winning author of 9 best-selling novels.
Wow.
Can't argue with that. I wonder if this version of the Green Hornet is still related to the Lone Ranger. In the original comics versions, right. I think he's like the great-great-great-grandson of the Lone Ranger.
Right.
And last up, we talked about it last week when Mark Waid announced Axiom, this 144-page graphic novel via Legendary. He was doing it with Ed Benes. I saw a few preview pages. I need to read this book. I'm now convinced I need to read this graphic novel because it does have some similar beats to Irredeemable, but the conceit of the story is a little different. Axiom shows up with another superpower being called Thena. The two of them solve all the world's problems, including major crimes and natural disasters. They are major league in love. And at some point, the two of them come up against this thing that creates a wormhole, and Thena is pulled through it by herself. On the other end of the galaxy, in a position where it's very unlikely she would have the ability to fly home. So Axiom loses his shit. And of course he blames the people he was trying to save at the time. You know, a.k.a. the planet Earth. So this isn't like Irredeemable, where the Plutonian was just more or less looking to have his peace and quiet in the middle of all this stuff he doesn't understand. This is a Kryptonian-like super being having a goddamn global tantrum. And unlike Irredeemable, there isn't a Justice League allegory to stand in his way. All the rest of the planet is just regular humans. I've seen a lot of people online saying, haven't you ever read Irredeemable? You wrote the frickin' thing. And, you know, there's no other superhumans here. There's no other help. People have got to do it them damn selves. I can't speak for you guys, but I'm in. I got to know more.
I think I'm satisfied with Irredeemable.
Still need to finish that one day. And last up, we have our WTF Corner. That's where you find the stories from throughout the internet that just make you really, really, really wish that things would just stop sometimes. And video game videos are back this week.
Okay.
Incredible plays, unbelievable falls, and glitches that suddenly make losing a life in Mega Man seem like the least of your problems these days. First up is a video from a game that we used to have quite a bit, Uncharted 4. Remember that one, the adventuring game with Nathan Drake?
Yep.
Supposed to be the latest and greatest in the series. This one came from the channel of user Vapid Inception. Kudos, man. That's really good. Vapid Inception. He titled this video, After You Die, You Must Fly.
Huh.
Oh, yeah. I sent the video. So, there you are, running uphill. Gunned down this poor guy behind the barrier. Didn't even realize you were there, did he?
No.
Leap over it. You see that guy on the grappler? He thinks he's funny. He ain't sneaking up on me. Gunned him down, mid-swing, and he flies like he's got a rocket.
Whoa!
Just no rhyme or reason, because the way you were shooting him, he should have rocketed forward. No, he exited stage left.
That was the game physics going, wait, he was going that way, then he died. No, he just keeps going that way.
It was a brutal shot to the skull that just made him spin like a frisbee.
Release all that pressure and go.
His ego flew out of him. But if you're talking about ego, there are a few games as big on the planet right now as Overwatch. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
And
Haven't
you can't
played
have
it in
video.
a while, but
Yeah, there aren't really glitches. Just about every video we have with Overwatch has to do with plays. And this has to do with one of those things that benefits you, even though you probably won't think it benefits you. This came from the channel of Apollo Seph. APOLLOSEPH. He titled this video, Overwatch, Goal!
breathe.
Goal, for those of you that don't understand Spanish. Hey, I had the opportunity. I took it. And I sent the video.
Oh god, the junk rat. Oh god, this thing still works?
Yep, somebody jammed a trap on a soccer ball and he's just having fun trying to... There it goes, rolling downhill. You see those Reinhardts down there?
Oh.
Well, guess what? Because you ain't getting away. Charge. Got you pinned and caught in the trap. Oh! And he was left stationary for someone else to gun down.
Oh.
Like I said, that's one of those things where you're
worse than the Make blog.
Yeah, you're playing around and all of a sudden you come across a firefight and forget that you left that really useful thing up at the top of the hill.
And it saves your life.
What do you think was happening on the other side of that video? What do you think the Reinhardt player was doing when he's got this guy cold, about to ram him into a wall, and he just stops cold?
Yeah, I think the terms of, what the fuck? Comes to mind.
I think that term is better laid out on this next video. It's from a game that just recently came out, Battlefield 1. The multiplayer shooter that has to do with a bunch of throwback-style weaponries and armors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You should see this, man, because when I saw this video, my mouth opened wide. No words, just how in the blue hell did you do that? This came from the channel of user Cullen. Just one word like Prince. Cullen. C-U-L-L-E-N. And he titled this video, Out of a Plane? Trust me, it's not entirely what you think it is. I sent the video. Your character is horseback.
We got some Arabian Night shit going on here.
Something's firing at you. Okay, fire a single bullet. And you just headshot that pilot.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Where? I don't see it.
Is that impressive or not? Just single shot from a long rifle and you killed a biplane pilot. You want to see that again?
Yeah.
Because I think that deserves a second go around. So there you are, and you see the fire coming from the back direction.
Yeah.
That plane shooting. So just one shot, bang, killed him. And all it did was fly dead stick to crash in the desert.
Yeah, I'm betting that pilot was like,
Damn it.
there was some serious stuff there.
You know, if that was me and I did that, there would be a gigantic woohoo sound, and then you would hear like the DDP theme, self high five. Yeah. But we're not done yet, because an oldie but goodie has come back back to show us some new hijinks. Destiny.
Oh.
Destiny, you are about to get a lesson in ego. This video came from user Joe Hadsall. Joe, second word Hadsall. And he titled his video, Destiny, never go full jazz hands in the Crucible.
Oh.
I know. I sent the video. So I believe...
FWC...
Titan.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, yeah. Super took out 3 of them.
Triple down.
Jazz hands, and jazz hands, and jazz hands, and I'm dead.
Oh. And Sniper.
Sniper does not like jazz hands. You know, you can only victory dance so much before somebody says, you're a prick, and now you're dead. Then this video came from a game I'm not familiar with, Arma 3. It's from 2013.
Oh, wow, yeah, okay.
What is Arma 3? I'm not familiar with it.
Basically, imagine like you're piloting a tank.
Okay. All right. This one...
I think.
Okay, this one, you have to pay attention. This came from the channel of user Mr. Demonic0904. That was really close to being awesome, just that close. He titled this video, The FP Arma Night Flying Experience. It sounds like a band name.
Uh-huh.
I sent the video. So, it looks like you're flying your shotgun on a helicopter.
That's not a shotgun.
I said you're riding shotgun.
Oh.
They're having a problem because it says a player is gone. And it turns out that player just happens to be the pilot.
Oh no.
Oh crap.
It crashed upside down because you couldn't see in the darkness. That was impressive as all hell, man, because right when you think it's just, did we glitch? Are we going anywhere? Yes, we're going somewhere. Holy crap! I especially love
getting awfully big.
I love that 5 seconds before you realize that's ground above you is when somebody said, "Why is the altimeter going down?" Just realized it a moment too late. Last up is a game that creates a lot of issues, and that's The Witcher 3. This game has some of the most unbelievable bugs in it, and that streak continues. This came from the channel of user AJ Nguyen. Obviously, you just put up his name. AJ Nguyen. He titled it, The Witcher 3, Geralt Meets the Local Populace.
Okay.
Yes, I will warn you ahead of time, it is a 2.5-minute video. We don't need all 2.5 minutes, because what's wrong here becomes very apparent relatively quickly. I sent the video.
I'm looking for someone.
So there's Geralt talking to 2 of the local populace for something, right?
Out of my face, freak. For your breath sours my beer.
Whoa.
Yeah, hang on.
Red-haired woman dressed in black and white.
Still quizzing the populace. And he just mesmerized one to give him an answer. Now, take a really good look at the guy at the other side of the table.
Oh, even the guy that he's talking to.
The guy he's talking to is not too bad off. The guy here, he stands up and he's got no lower half.
Whoa!
He's been chopped in half the short way. And there's viscera hanging down as he calmly sits his ass back down on top of his legs.
Both of them are like that.
What the hell?
And a head with no body that's able to fling cups somehow. There's something seriously wrong here.
Got a minute?
Why not? How dirt get?
You like a little head, sir?
He's got a lower half at least.
Yeah, there's
you see that spine?
Witcher with tenure.
No arms McCrae's what they call me, sir.
Dressed in black and white. Seen anyone like that?
Of course not.
What would you do if your computer was doing this to you? Besides take a video anyway. Hello!
The road must stick together. Perhaps one day I'll be in trouble and you'll be nearby to help.
I see that Mad Max has been through this town a couple times.
Looking for a woman.
Oh god, again?
Yeah, somebody else is missing the lower half of his body.
Yeah, but this particular guy, considering the DLC, couldn't happen to a nicer chap.
Two snapsies.
There's a bloody leg sitting on the table.
Well, it's probably his. I gotta pick that up. I'll get that back. So, I'm gonna stop right there, but you get why there's a problem with this video. The town is dead already. And apparently, all these people rolled 20s on their will saves. Now, I have a video of a different type for you. Have you guys watched M1 at all?
M1? No.
Yes. M1 is a European medieval fight tournament. And when I say medieval, I mean full armor with metal paddle swords and shields.
Okay.
It is a medieval fighting tournament. Or, not tournament, I'm sorry, fighting league. A video came out on Sploy this week, which is a Gizmodo offshoot. It's one of the sites that survived Gawker being shut down. And they showed a video of a very short match where, let me put it this way, if he beat him any harder with that shield, he should have a star on it.
Okay, never mind, I have seen this. I just didn't realize it was that fun.
Yeah, I sent the video.
Alright.
Those, like I said, those are not full swords. Those are like metal paddles in the place of swords. Thank goodness, because I don't want to see somebody die in the ring.
And they're like, welded into the gauntlets type thing.
Yeah. And watch that swing, man. Hit him right in the side of the head, too. You see that dent?
Oh, and then the shield.
Right in the face. And those were just the highlights. Now, the odd thing is, it gets kind of brutal, because you see them swinging with those swords.
Yeah.
It's a little clumsy, but hey, they're in full armor, so it's not going to be like precision stuff. Watch this. Yeah, they clinch, takedown, and he lost his paddle, so he's going to improvise. Get off me, and he just starts bludgeoning his skull with that shield.
Oh.
Dude.
And dude tries to get up, and it's like, nope.
I know, he is concussed, man, because there is not great protection on the interior. He tapped out. He gives. The only thing missing is him taking that shield and winging it off his arm and just hitting him in the face with it. Just give it a full-on Captain America throw, and that poor guy, he's barely moving.
I hope there's padding in those helmets.
I'm sure there is, but to what degree? I mean, I don't know what European standards are versus everything else, and I think this is a couple Russian competitors. You know Russians, they're a hardy people.
Hopefully that guy wasn't the Spetsnaz.
I got another video for you, but this is of a completely different caliber. This is a technical video.
Okay.
What do you guys do when you have to clean something really thoroughly?
Hire someone.
Our roommate's sister.
Wow. You lazy punks. Well, you might have to get them a P laser. Do you know what that is?
No.
It is a 1,000 watt laser. And rather than try to describe this to you any better, I am just going to get you guys the video. And I've sent the video. So this is the P laser burning off rust.
Oh, I think I've seen this before. This is awesome.
Look at it just burn that rust away down to the clean metal underneath.
I'll be honest, this is like a low-end lightsaber, maybe?
I don't think it's necessarily pushing stuff off. I think it's full-on burning it. I never
vacuum to suck up the residue.
Yeah, I never see any video of the user, but I'm going to guess that with that kind of rust being turned into aerosol, more or less, vaporized, you're going to need a respirator.
Yeah.
But look at it. One pass, and it even hits the contours of the connecting pipes there. That looks practically factory new.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what this would do to the longevity of these types of materials? Being able to clean it this thoroughly? Look at this whole industrial piping. That's heavy paint. And it's just being scraped completely off by the laser in one go.
I don't think you can use the word scrape.
That buzzing
separating
sound.
the rust from the metal.
That's not rust. That's paint.
That's paint?
Yeah.
It's taking heavy paint clean off. Impressed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No information on cost or release. I know some people in cosplay who might use that to take off some heavy makeup. You know, I know other people that would probably use that on Homestuckers just to remove them and not the makeup, but that's their personal standpoint. You know, sometimes when you're looking through the internet for unusual stories, you come across very strange arrest records. Wouldn't you agree?
Okay.
But like last week, we talked about that lady who was busted for possession of crystal meth, wearing a shirt that says, "I love crystal meth." Well, Tracy Lee Giffen in Pennsylvania is facing a number of charges this week. She both stabbed and bit her husband.
Okay.
What did he do?
Well, she is 45 years old, and her husband went to bed that night before Mrs. Giffen, Tracy Lee Giffen, awoke to discover her husband had swiped one of her beers.
What?
Really?
Yes, over a beer, she then stabbed and cut him on the neck, chest, and head with scissors, and then she bit him on the arms and thumb. All this over a beer.
Wow.
And this is Pennsylvania, so this wouldn't even be happening over, like, Budweiser. This would be happening over some Pabst Blue Ribbon or something. You know, this could be happening over a can of Schlitz. And this actually isn't the first time she's done something like this. In 2013, she and her husband appeared in a local report after cops said she attacked him for failing to buy barbecue sauce. This woman is as serious about her kitchen as frickin' Wong, okay?
She needs to be somewhere else, preferably with a padded room.
She
has issues.
She needs to be in prison, and whatever you do, do not let her work the cafeteria. Which is a strange segue into the next story in WTF. And this is kind of the opposite, because this is about as good as it's going to get. I'm going to start by sending you guys an image. All right? Because the image is the story. Tell me what you see.
Superstar eating pizza with a kid?
Yeah.
Who's been isolated by the rest of the school?
You're half correct. That is not a superstar. That is a football player from Florida State University.
Okay.
Hmm?
Several Florida State football players this week visited Montford Middle School in Tallahassee. Specifically, they went on August 31st. They went on August 30th, this past Tuesday. That man eating pizza, he is a wide receiver named Travis Rudolph. And he chose to sit down and have lunch with an autistic boy.
Okay.
All right.
According to the boy's mother, her name is Leah Paskey, quote, "I do remember middle school being scary and hard. Now that I have a child starting middle school, I have feelings of anxiety for him, and they can be overwhelming if I let them. Sometimes I'm grateful for his autism. That may sound like a terrible thing to say, but in some ways, I hope it shields him. He doesn't seem to notice when people stare at him when he flaps his hands. He doesn't seem to notice that he doesn't get invited to birthday parties anymore. And he doesn't seem to mind that he eats lunch alone. It's one of my daily questions for him. Was there a time today when you felt sad? Who did you eat lunch with today? Sometimes the answer is a classmate, but most days it's nobody. A friend of mine sent this beautiful picture to me today when I saw it with a caption, 'Travis Rudolph is eating lunch with your son.' I replied, 'Who is that?' He said, 'FSU football player.' I then had tears streaming down my face. Travis Rudolph, a wide receiver at Florida State, and several other FSU players visited my son's school today. I'm not sure what exactly made this incredibly kind man share a lunch table with my son, but I'm happy to say that it will not soon be forgotten. This is one day I didn't have to worry if my sweet boy ate lunch alone, because he sat across from someone who is a hero in many eyes. Travis Rudolph, thank you so much. You made this mama exceedingly happy and have made us fans for life," unquote.
Nice.
And it is so easy when people do media appearances, and, you know, I don't know if there were cameras present for this, but often something like this is a media appearance or a community appearance. They often tend to shy away from people who are unusual or might accidentally embarrass them. And this guy sat down right across from a kid who was very purposefully being left alone by most of the people in school.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool beyond words. You know, that kid's going to remember that day for a very long time, especially if he eats with so few people during the course of a school year.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because he's autistic doesn't mean he's a bad kid. Who knows? Something like this might actually give him enough focus to try out for a sport one day.
True.
So, power to... I don't know if it was the players' idea or Florida State University's idea to send the players out there, but either way, whoever is responsible for that trip deserves commendation. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of crap that changes kids' lives. Last up in WTF is our current favorite out-of-context D&D quotes from the website outofcontextdnd.tumblr.com. That's where quotes come from role-playing games, and taken out of context, they're utterly hilarious. We are off next weekend, so do we want an extended one?
Yeah,
sure.
Let's do that.
All right. 20, 30. I know, it's a lot of thought. Which do you want?
20.
Yeah, let's go with 20.
Okay. The first quote is pretty self-explanatory without context. I'm going to smack you to Timbuktu, and that's not even on this plane.
That's good.
The next quote is either some out of context talk between players, or it's a DM who's frustrated. It might be easier to sneak past the guards if you weren't riding an elephant.
That could be anyone.
The next quote, I don't care who said it, because I'm sure in the middle of the game it made sense and it was very normal, but when you say this out loud by itself, it sounds like you got a purty mouth. You're about to get pounded by a mummy.
Oh, wow.
That kind of reminds me of a quote I heard some Overwatch player get when he got revived. Oh no, he was playing a Zenyatta, and his friend on Sky Princess, little Omnic Priest, gets pounded by a giant German hammer.
You're going to play Zenyatta and you're going to have your mic open, just yell, "Fear my balls." How about this quote? Tell me if this was a player having a bad time, because this had to be a DM. It's all expositionary. You stare at the wall. In your catatonic state, the wall stares back, and you collapse. If you want the context of that, there was a small note that added that this was a dungeon master to a ranger after 2 crit fails in a dungeon.
Oh.
The next quote, I don't care who said it. There's no notes on it whatsoever. Guys, I'm not sure, but I don't think the entire planet should be on fire right now.
That sounds reasonable.
Don't think you're on the material plane anymore.
This is a material plane, although there's something very wrong with this weather. Okay, so, at 2 zombies every 6 seconds, that's about an hour and a half of falling zombies.
Okay.
Next quote has no notes on it, but it's visual. We only have one sailor on this team, and it's Guy Fieri.
Okay.
I wouldn't want those blonde tips in the middle of my game. No way. I'm going to guess that this next quote was a player yelling in the middle of a game. It opened fire on us. The lake opened fire on us.
Whoa, okay.
I'm going to guess that Lady of the Lake was tired of flinging swords and just got her trebuchet. Now, this is descriptive, and I can only imagine what led up to it. What's the role to vomit up a Frenchman from your body?
Wow.
Did they used to read Deadpool for that one?
To vomit up a Frenchman. Huh.
I don't know.
Wouldn't it be terrible if you finally vomited him up and he just jumps up and says, "Aye, it is me, Batroc the Liper!" The next one is a rogue talking to the games master, and then the rogue finishes off the conversation. Hey, Carrot Shell! It's Carrot Shell. Yeah, but he's Carrot Shell!
Wow.
Someone's trying very hard to be a douche.
The next quote, I was kind of hoping it would last through the day, that it didn't roll too far off this Tumblr. Because I have to give you a little bit of context. There's a note to it that makes the quote funny. A half-orc was attempting animal handling on an owlbear. And apparently, after the roll, he stood in front of this owlbear to use animal handling, put his hands to his lips, and yelled at the top of his lungs, "Hoot, hoot, motherfucker!" That must have been an awesome fail.
And you rolled a 1.
Animal trainer, Samuel L. Jackson.
Just don't give him snakes.
Could you imagine being the DM? Okay, that was awful. What do I do? Hoot, hoot, motherfucker.
It just reminds me of Team of the Rings. The guy rolls diplomacy. Hey, horse fuckers. I rolled a 1.
Okay, how would you like to hear about somebody who completely forgot about his inventory?
This happens a lot, actually.
Oh, it's worse than you think. Because it starts off with a priest who has to be corrected by his dungeon master.
Mm-hmm.
I press my staff against the orc threateningly. You heal all of his wounds and scars. What? It's a staff of healing. The next quote is from a librarian, which is almost as bad as far as priests go. Can I flash the priest? One rogue apparently said, "Should I be keeping a vomit count?"
Okay.
I know.
Either
what
there's
else?
a stinky cloud or they're on a boat in rough seas.
I'm on a boat, motherfucker. Let's see. You also have, your face has been thoroughly parried.
Wow.
It's like a super talk to the hand or something.
Or a headbutt.
Yeah. This must have been a very frustrated person. The box is full of, rolls dice, spiders.
Oh.
And if that isn't enough, that quote is followed by another quote that I almost wonder if it was in the same game, because it just says, "That is a lot of spiders. I'm glad I'm already on fire." The next quote is, "Yes, it is cherry-flavored skin."
Oh, God.
And the last quote we have from out of context dnd.tumblr.com, this had to be a dungeon master. Roll for the blackberry cake, then. I wonder what would have happened if you rolled a 1 out of that kitchen.
I don't know.
It's moldy.
She would have stabbed you for stealing the beer then. The subject of this week is Wonder Woman 1 through 3. It is the most current volume post DC's Rebirth. We had a little bit of curiosity because we had heard that it was very critically acclaimed. The writer on it is Greg Rucka. The artist is Liam Sharp. The colorist is Laura Martin. The letterist is Jody Wynn. We read last week that due to his work on this book, Liam Sharp was given an exclusive contract, And just from first impressions of flipping through like the first 5 pages of this book, worth every penny.
Yeah. No, this guy knows his stuff.
The art is an unusual fusion of a couple different styles, but it comes across as one of the more, for a Wonder Woman book, it comes across as one of the more realistic portrayals of the characters in it than I've ever seen. It's not utterly realistic. It's not like Alex Ross stuff. You know, it's not painted or anything. But there's something about the proportions and the facial structures that just make the whole thing pop off. Like, it's almost like somebody photoshopped photographs. It's really impressive work.
The thing I was the most impressed with was the depiction of Cheetah.
Oh, God.
That took me a while to figure out, actually.
I really enjoyed the cheetah. The more angry she became, the more cat-like her face became. The more she calmed down, the more normalized her features were. Although you could see the bridge and the wide nose of the cheetah in her face, like every time she spoke. Those eyes, the way the pupils would contract and dilate depending on what mood she was in. Sharp was paying a lot of attention to body and facial structure, and even animal structures when he did this book. And he made a fan out of me.
Yeah, I was very impressed.
This book was thoroughly intriguing, both artistically and by writing. I will say, after about the 7th page of the first issue, the new version of Etta Candy, I don't know if that's supposed to be a descendant of the original character from the 40s.
Yeah, I totally didn't recognize. I was like,
it's
I know this person?
It's definitely the original character. She was like a sidekick to Wonder Woman way back when.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I don't know if this is a descendant or if this is like a rebirth reboot of the character, but she seems to be kind of like Amanda Waller light.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, that's who I thought it was at first.
She's black. She's got long braided hair. She has about the same kind of structure and stature as Amanda Waller, but is nowhere near as domineering of a personality. She seems to be running a special...
somewhat nice.
I don't know about nice, but let's just say accommodating. She's professional.
Yeah.
And she's running a special ops team that has Steve Trevor at the lead, who has been a Wonder Woman boyfriend in and out of continuity. You know, depending on the era and volume is whether or not he's alive, dead, or even involved in Wonder Woman's life. The first issue did a pretty good job of world building. You know, Wonder Woman looking for Cheetah for unknown reasons, and then she ran across this tribe in the shadows that was worshipping her. A little? It took me a little while to understand, though, that these were anthropomorphized jackals. These are jackal men. Because when I first saw them, I thought, oh my god, it's Wonder Woman versus Batman.
Yeah.
They looked like bats to me originally.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Like bats to me too.
I thought this was a dig. I thought this was a joke at like Tom King and Batman. Then I was really looking at the page and was like, those are jackals. Okay, I can deal with this. But it took me a little bit to get it through my oversized head. Actually, Liam Sharp has done something that's pretty rare as far as comic books. He's really good at drawing the backgrounds here. The rocks, the formation of the jungle, even the foliage, you could tell the difference between tall grass and brushes. Bushes. Sorry, brushes. Jesus Christ. He did a really good job of differentiating the types of environment here, at least in my opinion. Did you guys pick up on that at all?
It wasn't something that really stood out for me per se, but now that you mentioned it, yeah, I do remember him actually doing foliage and some, stuff like that pretty well.
I'm going to guess Jesse wasn't looking for that.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was just looking at how detailed all the facial structures of all the characters were.
The other thing that Sharp did really well was hair. We've talked about how comic book characters, especially women, tend to have long hair to show off motion. But the hair didn't just show off motion. It actually looked like a believable head of hair on Wonder Woman and all these other characters. It doesn't lay flat, or it wasn't in giant clumps. Her hair was especially wavy at certain points. It couldn't help but be impressed. And it's really hard to talk about the story because we only got about 3 issues deep, and the second issue was a gigantic flashback.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a whole lot of story other than the idea that Wonder Woman has lost complete track of Themyscira. She cannot get home, and Olympus, from her run as God of War, has been completely cut off to her as well. So she has no contact with home and no contact with the gods that empower her, more or less. And she needs the help of the cheetah to find her way home, because the cheetah, before she was given this curse by a pagan god, was also an expert paleontologist.
Which I thought was like, all right, this is kind of a neat hook right here.
It is, as well as one of Wonder Woman's best friends, whom she still sees as a best friend. I don't know if that's been in previous comics, because, as we know, we're not heavy DC readers.
Right.
But that's a nice draw for a first issue to get you to buy the second issue and go, so what the hell is happening here?
Yeah.
And then the second issue ended up becoming a year one story.
And from what I gathered, issues 2 and 4 were year one flashbacks. Both of them tell the story about how Wonder Woman's curiosity just kept building to the point where she left Themyscira. Issues 1 and 3 had to do with the current story. So it's almost like an episode of Arrow, except they spend an entire issue dealing with the flashbacks instead of a couple pages here and there. Actually, both issues 1 and 2 did an important job of world building, except issue 2 had to do entirely with, again, why she wanted to leave the island and how she met Steve Trevor for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the most interesting I've thought of Themyscira as well. They, again, Rucka and Sharp did a good job of making the whole island into its own separate society and ecosystem. Everything there was done differently.
Yeah,
and I don't just
including the fact that, I don't know if this was normal, but it seems like the population of the Amazons were women from the outside world that had died and then were resurrected on the island by the gods.
That was the gathering I got. They never really got into the full origin of Wonder Woman in this story, and we've talked about how Rucka was, in some issue, Wonder Woman had wrapped her lasso of truth around her own arm and was talking to herself in the mirror, and discovered that her origin, as she knows it, may not even be the truth.
Mm.
So there's a lot of mystery surrounding this one. Wonder Woman is typically, in my opinion, one of the more straightforward characters in DC, and Rucka did a great job of adding a lot of depth in just 3 issues.
Mm-hmm.
They also added a new wrinkle to her name. I mean, no secret, Wonder Woman was created back in the 40s when, thought processes weren't quite as complex as they are right now. And Wonder Woman was more or less a statement of who she is rather than what she is. In the case here, I noticed that in one place they mentioned that Diana, while she was on Themyscira, was just wondering what was out there.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't really tie that in. But yeah.
I saw that.
She said to another character, Cassia, "Do you really wonder why my eye goes to the horizon instead of the skies?" They made her name sound less like a praise of her position, or, her stature or her looks as they would back then. They made it sound like Wonder Woman is basically a term she gave herself as an explorer of the world of man, something she just didn't know about. Her curiosity took her out, her sense of wonder. I caught that myself. I don't know if I'm reading too far into it.
That I didn't catch. I did see that she was kind of Wonder Woman was beyond the veil, but yeah, I didn't really make that connection, but that's a nice connection.
Either, but that is interesting.
I still don't quite know what's going on in the second issue, page 11, where she finds that one decrepit tree in the middle of the place, and she was bitten by a snake.
That's something to do with possible Greek mythology or something like that.
I really hope so, because given my upbringing and my more or less non-religious nature, the first thought that came to mind was, oh my god, she found the tree of knowledge and the snake bit her.
You know what? I thought the same thing too.
I mean, could it be that
this might be a gateway to Hades, or whatever was it Hades? Or
again, that's just based
Hades
on my own...
Greece, yeah.
Yeah, that's just based on my own knowledge. I mean, as Steve said, this would be more Greco-Roman style history, so there's probably a different symbology here I am not personally catching.
Yeah.
You know, it's like on this island there's a lot of interesting horses and owls even, which makes me wonder if half of them are just avatars of different gods of the time.
Well, owls are usually associated with Athena.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Athena is very well worshipped on this fracking island. Bunch of hunters.
Course.
Mm-hmm. Horses are a result from Poseidon, I think?
Yes.
The side story going on here with Steve Trevor and how he became such a special ops badass, was I the only one who thought that his black friend there was pretty much red shirt from page 1?
Not initially, but yeah, I started to see that later on as like, all right, his life is going good for him. He's going to die, isn't he?
Yeah, that last page in the plane when they're getting ready to take off for somewhere, and he just kind of looks at his wedding ring, takes it off, puts it in his pocket. Not because he hates his wife, but because they're going on a mission. I looked at that and just said, well, I'm going to marry my sweetheart in Eagle River as soon as we get back.
Yeah, I saw saying, okay, like, if you didn't get it, this kind of hit you in the head with it.
Yeah, it really did slam you in the skull.
I was kind of wondering, if because, he's currently teamed up with another black guy, and I was just like, wait, so did he die or didn't he die?
It could be his son, though.
That could be.
Because, his friend died on deployment, but he recently had a son, and you got to admit...
Daughter.
Did he have a son? I thought it was a daughter.
Oh, yeah, was it a daughter?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pretty sure they referred to her as a girl, yeah.
Okay, I got that completely wrong. Oh, crap, I hope that's not Etta Candy.
Trevor would be very old if that were the case.
Well,
yeah.
Well, it's hard to tell how old he is in this picture, because he could just be coming up for it, as far as I know. And Wonder Woman appears to be pretty young in this flashback herself.
No, I mean the fact that Trevor currently doesn't look all that old, so if Candy is looking at that age, then Trevor would be really old. And he doesn't look that.
True. I'm just positing here because, again, I don't have a full story. It's only 3 issues, and there was no full story to be told. I will say, though, that these 3 issues, really good read.
Yeah.
As much as I was frustrated by the flashback cut-in on what I had available, it was really easy flowing back and forth and trying to understand how they relate to each other, even though there's only 3 issues available to me right now. And
I had a bit of an issue with bad choice of words. I had an issue with the third issue. I was getting that they were friends, but
I think the third issue is.
I couldn't get behind. I couldn't relate to what was going on, so I had trouble. I don't know. It didn't click with me. I understand what was going on, but it's like I had no.
You're being very vague, and I'm not.
I know. I can't find the right.
You're talking about.
I can't find the right
didn't
word.
You understand? What disconnect did you have?
That's the thing. I'm trying to find the words, and I don't have it.
I think the third issue is where the first 2 really kind of came together, and all the story elements started to collide with each other. And this version of the cheetah, who is fighting for her own mind as well as the nature that was given to her by this Urza Kaga, this weird god that turned her into what she is.
Yeah.
That's nightmarish.
Yeah, forced to be a cannibal. So, of course, you want to go the madness route because
you don't want to think about what you're doing.
Oh.
And then at the same time, she despises Diana because this is her best friend who's unable to help her right now, and she still has to stare at her friend who looks like the epitome of female perfection while she's turned into this woman beast. That's got to be double frustrating.
Yeah.
And this version of the character, I understand why she hates her, because Wonder Woman embodies everything she would like to be right now.
Well, that, and she had a bit of misappropriated rage towards her.
A bit, but as we discussed, she's got this extra nature she's fighting against right now, and anger is an easy place to retreat to. So the cheetah has always been confusing to me on a bunch of levels, because as much as she's portrayed in a villain, she is probably one of the more easily sexualized characters in Wonder Woman's universe.
Yeah.
But in this character, this version of the character is so conflicted and complex, and you just start to feel for how much her life must suck, and as much as she hates everything, she's not going to kill herself either.
You know what? I think that might be it. I think that might be my issue, is that I had a preconception of what the Cheetah was, and this was completely smashing it, and I wasn't... I don't know, I had a hard time accepting it for some reason, I guess.
I mean, that fight that the Cheetah and Wonder Woman had with the Jackalman, the Cheetah was impaled, and she lost her crap. She ripped open the chest of one of those things.
Yeah, and was eating it.
I know. I have seen more gory pictures in comic books of varying degrees. I've seen much gorier than this. The Ultimate comics come to mind. However, I found this image much more disturbing because, again, this is the thought of a woman who doesn't want to be what she is but can't fight her inner nature. Or can't fight this extra nature of the Cheetah entity.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine... She's basically riding shotgun to her body and has to realize at some point that she's eating something else's flesh.
The page after that, when Wonder Woman's trying to calm her down, kind of remind me of someone helping their friend with, I guess, drug addiction.
It's a lot like that, except it's not something she wants to do. It's something she's forced to do to survive. It would be similar to somebody who can only subsist on blood for their entire lifetime. You know, you have to have it. Nothing's going to stop you from getting it, but at the same time, you're going to hate yourself every moment of the day.
Yeah.
And I don't mean vampires. I'm talking about somebody that requires the blood of other creatures to survive. You know, vampires, obviously, it'd be too easy of a conversation. It's unusual for a comic book about a character I've never really cared for before to come up with a number of characters that I actually have a great deal of interest in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Cheetah, Steve Trevor, and Wonder Woman typically have been very low on my list because as I was growing up, Wonder Woman always epitomized kind of a blind sexuality in comics. You know, it always seemed like a lot of boobs and a lot of muscle flexing, but not a lot of story. In this case, the muscle flexing and the bodies were much less important than the stories, it seems like, to both the artist and the writer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thoroughly impressed. You know, this is one of those books that it's a little bit too cerebral for a lot of young readers, and given what the Cheetah does in the books, never give this to anybody who hasn't passed puberty. You know, you might actually give kids nightmares with some of the stuff that Barbara Ann Minerva does in these books.
Yeah.
But this looks like the start of a really great epic visual story. I mean, I would put this in the hands of so many people if they asked me about it.
Yeah,
you know,
I wouldn't even feel guilty doing it.
I know, and Wonder Woman has a long history, but thanks to Rebirth, this is a great jump-in point for people who have never cared about this book. I mean, I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and I honestly can't wait for probably WonderCon of next year, because by then the trades will be out on this, and I will be all over it.
Yeah, I have to say that this ranks up there with Aquaman to me, as far as like
surprise good.
Yes, was something that I was not expecting to be as enthusiastic about, and I was just like, "Holy crap! This story is intriguing. The flashback wasn't annoying."
If they could keep raising the profiles of characters like this who are in their top 7 but are not the standard bearers of DC, you could actually have a Justice League that wouldn't require Batman or Superman to exist the way they're going. Because this Wonder Woman isn't just strong; she's well thought out. She thought far ahead of her confrontation with the Cheetah and what she needed to do, as well as Aquaman. And we've seen that this version of him has a lot of strength and power, and he's just tired of people assuming that he only talks to fish.
Yeah.
You know, they're building a great set of characters that are not the standard bearers of DC. And I hope they continue this direction, man. Rebirth seems like they've actually given new breath to a lot of characters that desperately needed it.
If only they would be the odd man out and say, just didn't click well with me. And for giving an explanation why, I wish I could tell you. I just didn't click with me.
And see, the reasons you didn't like it are the reasons I enjoyed it. It blew away like most of the preconceived notions I had about these characters and took them to a place I was not prepared for.
The thing is, I do appreciate it, but the thing is, I don't know. I see what you're saying. It just didn't click with me.
It's something we've talked about. A lot of the stories I've wanted to read have been told already, and now I need just stuff with good execution, and I think this had it in spades. I love the art, I love the story, and I'm really eager to read the next part of this adventure. It feels like Indiana Jones with bigger muscles in certain degrees, and that's cool for me. All right, we are off next weekend. During the weekend we're off. I will give Anthony the interview I did with Baka Cosplay. I interviewed Florence Hayer. She is the central figure in Baka Cosplay. So that will be up while we're gone. While we're out, I was trying to think of what to do, and actually, I think I'll just keep it visual. Given what we saw of that French series Wakfu, I think that should be where we go next.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, definitely need to find some subtitles or something now, because I don't do well with French.
They're all over YouTube. Subtitled versions are all over YouTube.
Okay. Well, the one that you linked was not subtitled, and
that was an AMV, though.
Oh, okay. Well, that's true.
I said it's a French subtitled series. I didn't say it was a French subtitled clip.
Okay. Well, I thought that's what you meant, so.
No. So I think we'll do like the first probably 3 episodes of Wakfu. That's like an hour of video. So that'll keep it simple. So next week we are off, and then, 2 weeks after we come back is when Cage becomes an actual multimedia property. God, time is just flying. And pretty soon we'll all have to gather in at the end of October for Kamikaze.
Yep.
That is going. And then you get to see the hotel that we've been telling you about for, 3 years now?
I am actually looking forward to that quite a bit.
All right. Thank you for coming in and chilling with us. We are off next week, and in 2 weeks we invite you to roll with us again when we talk the French series Wakfu. Thank you very much. Have a great one. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
And Jesse.
Don't jerk and drive. Take care.